It started with an owner who had a last name fans despised, hiring a coach that the experts thought was crazy,
But I got a plan, I swear to you.
who traded for a QB that was said to be washed up. They said the Detroit Lions would never amount to anything, that it would always be the same old Lions. But this team, our team, has a new identity, defined and expressed by the crazy head coach,
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes, I will beat your ass.
led by the QB that nobody thought was good. Motor City Mania is in full swing and ready to start. So join the show and be prepared for kneecap biting, because Motor City Mania starts right now. All right, everybody. Hello and welcome back to Motor City Mania. Hopefully everybody had a somewhat good Thanksgiving, spending time with family and friends, enjoying turkey, ham, casserole, stuffing, whatever y'all had. Hopefully you guys at least enjoyed your meal or enjoying your meal. I know some of us eat a little bit later than others, but I'm just going to say this right now. If you're a Lions fan, which if you're watching this, you probably are, you probably had your meal kind of spoiled with the fact that the Lions lost to our hated division rival, the Green Bay mother-flipping Packers. So this one, as the title states, it definitely stings. It's stunning. It's heartbreaking. It just sucks. It just plain out sucks. Hopefully I'll have a couple more people that'll join me in the panel tonight. But for right now, I've got Jay Vincent with me, and I've got Chris, photographer Smith. And so we're going to start off with that. This might be a really quick show. This might be a longer show. It just kind of depends on comments, how we go with the panel and everything. But welcome, guys. Hope you guys have enjoyed your Thanksgiving so far. How you guys doing? Though I dare need to ask.
Man,
It don't feel the same.
Fucking pissed off about the game.
I would be willing to reckon that about most Lions fans feel the way you feel right now. Be willing to bet that. All right, let's take a look at some of these comments here really quickly. Roger Horvath says, all you have to do is watch the Eagles, 49ers, and Cowboys to realize we're not as good as they are. It's not even close. Right now we're not. No, I'd agree with you. Right now we're not. Were we a couple of weeks ago before everything started falling apart a little bit? Yeah, I think we'd be as good as probably the 49ers or the Cowboys. Eagles, I think we still got a way to catch up with. Greg C. says, absolute booty cheeks everywhere. He then says, JMO was the only bright spot, ironically. No, I think that's being a little too critical. I think that's being a little too specific. I don't think that you're doing much credit to yourself. Roger then says, there's a lot of pressure on our offense because they know they have to score 30 every game to be able to win. That's pretty accurate. I will give you that. Right. Silent says, can't leave 9 points on the board and allow 20-plus pressures and expect to win. That is definitely true. John Ellison with his usual ridiculous comment, who just wants to just hate on Goff without actually understanding the logical situation for what it is. Not even going to bother reading it because I think it's ridiculously ignorant. Let's see here. Nolan Ziegler says we better draft a pass rusher early or sign a stud. He then says Romeo and Harris ain't it. Romeo, Julian, Charles Harris, none of them are it. Bobo Yoop says ass suckage at its finest. Won't be interested until playoffs, which we'll probably miss. F the Lions. It was Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for nothing. Hey, that's on you, man. That's on you. I know that you've said multiple times you've been a fan for 50-plus years, and SOL's part of your mindset, but I'm not going to let that sway my thought process. SW Line 16 says, David, warning signs have been apparent. Lions haven't played at a high level in a long time. Eventually, when you don't deserve to win, you're going to lose, and they didn't deserve to win this one. They didn't deserve to win this one or the last one. Let's be honest here. The Lions have realistically not played good football as a team, arguably, in my opinion, since before the Ravens disaster. That's my honest opinion. We probably shouldn't have won the Chargers game, but somehow we managed to win that one. We definitely should not have won the Chicago game, but we somehow managed to win that one. And we didn't deserve to win this game, and that's why we lost it. We haven't really played good football in about a month now. And the fact that we've been able to kind of string these last 3 wins together, I think that's a testament more to the team's mentality and toughness than anything. But yeah, we haven't been playing good football, for a while. Roger Horvath says our DBs need an upgrade too. SW Lion 16 says if they keep playing like this, they're going to struggle to win any of the games left on their schedule, playing like the worst team in the division. Right now, they kind of are. And I think part of that problem is that I think the Lions kind of got into their own heads thinking that, hey, you know what? We're 8-2. Everybody's giving us all this praise. We're doing really good right now. Maybe it's not as hard as we think it is. And I think I hate saying this, but it's somewhat the truth. I think sometimes you have to lose a game to kind of bring yourself back into focus, kind of recenter yourself on, okay, we can't just think we're going to coast through everything. We got to keep going back to work. SW Line 16 says Hutch looks tired. AG's defense is too predictable. No pass rush, poor pass coverage. Goff has been a turnover machine the last 2 weeks, and the Lions O-line was whipped today. We'll talk about that a little bit today. SW Line 16 says the Emperor has no clothes. I guess we can stop talking about number 1 seed. Let's see if they make the playoffs. They're still going to make the playoffs, but I don't think number 1 seed is a possibility at this point. Everyone can say that it is. They still have a path to it. But this win definitely puts a huge damper on that. Braylon Dennis says, horrible display. We need a effing pass rush. No debate with you on that one, my friend. Elizabeth Oberlin says, good evening, guys. My goal this year was to win the North, and I have not looked past that. How long until MCDC does something about the defense? We're going to talk about that, too. Let's see here. Braylon Dennis says, Brad Holmes needs to do something. I definitely agree. SW Line 16 says, don't let the Lions spoil your Thanksgiving, folks. Didn't spoil mine. I enjoyed my meal, spent time with family. I was happy with it. Nicholas Johnson says, our defense is garbage. Nick Burton says, I'm so glad I wasn't home to watch it. I'd probably be crying. I definitely was not happy. I'll just put that out there. Elizabeth Oberlin says, MCDC's presser, you could see he was pissed and was just trying to make it through the press conference. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, he was mad. But again, that's part of Dan Campbell. He is very easily read with his emotions. He's not a very good poker player. Let's put it that way. SW Line 16 says, no disguise in the Lions schemes defensively, and that is needed with this defense. Nicholas Johnson says we have an incompetent kicker. He missed 1 kick, and it was an extra point. That extra point really wasn't going to do us any good because we still lost by 7. So if he'd have made it, it'd been what, a 6-point loss? That's not fair. Braylon Dennis says, only saving grace, we didn't get blown out. We should have. That's true. Nicholas Johnson says Aaron Glenn needs to be replaced. I agree 100%. Leonidas says AG is in over his head big time. Silence says AG needs to go. He's no better than Anthony Lynn. LDV Tennis said there would be no new wrinkles this week because it was a short week. Packers knew that was coming. No, not dressing up the core plays was a mistake. Von Zale Carson says, we'll say this, take a breath. We all expected a surprise loss. There was no way we was winning out the rest of the season. We just need to refocus and play good football. And I agree with that. I think that what makes this really bitter for Lions fans to try and deal with and swallow is that we were so hyped. We were so excited that this would be the first time in possibly 6 years we could win on Thanksgiving. It was against a division rival we absolutely detest. And it's like, listen, we had every chance to win that game, and we just literally crapped the bed. That's what's probably pissing people off the most is that, listen, this was a game we could have won. If we'd applied ourselves, we should have won. But yet, again, we came out flat. The coaches didn't have the players prepared, and it clearly invisibly showed. Perry Ball says the loss is on bad coaching and the players. Ben Johnson looks bad right now. AG needs to go. Aiden Hutchinson needs to step up. Goff played bad penalties and turnovers hurt us, and also mentions the rest. That's a pretty good assessment, but I think you left out one little thing in there, the offensive line. Because that offensive line got absolutely manhandled today. They couldn't block anybody. Nicholas Johnson says he turned off his TV at halftime. Nope, I watched it all the way through. Lone Wolf says Lions have problems. Yeah, it sucks losing on Thanksgiving, but I hope this loss wakes the Lions up. I think it will, to be honest with you. I think it will. Because what it's going to do is it's going to refocus everybody to step up, to be challenged, to do better, and I think that's going to help us out. Steve O'Baby says the great Chris Berman said it best. Offense wins games, defense wins championships. The Lions are far from winning a championship. Facts. SW Lion 16 says they got punched in the mouth today. Hopefully it'll wake them up. Greg C says, is it true they only did 3 walkthroughs for practices after the Bears game? Yes, most teams do that on shortened weeks. They usually don't do a full-on practice. They will just do walkthroughs. Perry Ball says, if they don't win the division, there will be a problem. Peter Jabatak says, I think I'm okay with things. Lions played like absolute trash, but was only a horrible 3rd and 5 play call away from Ben Johnson away from tying the game up at the end. I think there were a couple of plays that you could realistically go back to as things that really cost us, and I think that 3rd and 5 play you're referring to is one. I think the 4th down attempt on the punt was another one. I think there's a couple of plays you could go through. Silent says, Ben Johnson's play calling in the red zone has to be the worst in the league given what he has to work with. That I do agree with. Ben Johnson does need to start getting more aggressive in the freaking red zone. Whatever he's doing, he's not showing the same creativity. He's not showing the same aggressiveness that he usually does. And it's starting to affect the offense's ability to be effective. Chuck Osborne says, I'm not impressed with Aaron Glenn's plan. I don't think anybody's impressed except Dan Campbell, and that is saying something. Nick Burton says, made Jordan Love look like Tom Brady out there, and that's not a good sign. Wish we were able to fire Aaron Glenn. Dude, I've been wanting Aaron Glenn fired since week fucking 2. I'm sorry. I have been saying it for weeks now. King SJ says, hey guys, I wasn't able to watch. Not a holiday here, but looks like beating themselves contributed today and lost the battle in the trenches. Well, the trenches definitely was the biggest problem by far and large. I know some people are not going to want to hear it, but I think the biggest reason the offense struggled today, other than Ben Johnson's game plan, was the offensive line just did not play very well. When Jared Goff is getting pressured 50% or more of his dropbacks, that right there is a massive problem. No quarterback should be getting pressured that much, especially with an offensive line that everybody has, for the most part, universally agreed is a top 5, top 3 offensive line. Okay, you're done. I'm not going to deal with this. Don't worry, LDN. I shut him up for good. Anyway, now that we've gotten through, LDN says, hey, Dave, what did I miss apart from a total disgrace? Not much, just going through comments. SW Line 16 says, love Dan Campbell, but he's letting his friendship with Glenn cloud his judgment. I've been saying that for a long time.
Yep.
Barking Ducks Adventure says, unfortunately, I was at the game and it was brutal to watch. Good God, this team is tough to watch right now. It's tough to watch because the best way I can describe the Lions right now is it's an engine that is sputtering, because there are times when it looks like it's about to recapture its form and then it just continues to sputter. It's like somebody is continually holding the choke of the engine and is not just letting it play. And I think Dan Campbell did hit on one thing, is that they're trying to overload the players with too much. And it's just like, listen, sometimes the best thing to do is just let the players play. You don't need to overload their plates. You don't need to try and get too technical. Simple is always better, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Telos says I don't know how to, I'm just going to say double T. I was really looking forward to a Lions Thanksgiving win. Also placed a bet on it too. Today was a huge letdown. Probably stings more than a Baltimore game. A wake-up call for Detroit it was. Absolutely. I thought this to myself, and I said this literally in the description for this live stream, that this game probably hurts more than the other 2 losses we've had this year. Way more than the Seahawks game, and probably just a little bit more than the Ravens game, because it's like, listen, we don't like losing to the Packers. The Packers are our most hated rival, and when we lose to them, it doesn't matter what the case is, we hate it. But losing on Thanksgiving, it makes it even worse. LDN Podcast says, does Goff need to learn how to carry the ball better? I think in a little case he does, because one of those fumbles was because he didn't hold the ball well, and there's a perfect way I can describe this. In the one fumble he had where he escaped the pocket and he was trying to scramble, he had the ball all the way out here. That is fundamental wrong, not good, because any running back knows it's supposed to be high and tight to the body so that way you can't be stripped. And he had the ball all the way out there. That's very easy to get fumbled on. Because then the very next drive when he scrambled, I noticed it. He had the ball high and tight, so that way he didn't fumble again. So it's just reapplying those fundamentals and not letting them fall loosey-goosey whenever you're in the heat of the moment. So that one was definitely on Goff's lack of ball security. But the other two, I really don't attribute that on Goff, because one should have been an incomplete pass because it was a forward throw. I don't care what the refs say. I don't care what the rule says. That's a forward throw. His arm was clearly going forward. And the other fumble, he got hit from behind on his blind side. He can't see that guy coming. And on top of that, it was on a 4th down anyway. Who gives a flip if he fumbled the ball? The ball was going to be turned over one way or the other. Barking Ducks Adventure says, how do I feel about a Goff extension? I still think he deserves an extension for one simple reason. Let's just think about this, folks. Without Goff, we do not win some of the games that we have right now. Think about it. Without Goff, we don't win the game last week. Without Goff, we don't win the game against the Bucks. Without Goff, we don't win the game against the Chargers. That's 3 wins right there. We all of a sudden we're now looking at a 5-6 record at best rather than an 8-3 record. LDN Podcast says, should Brunell get on him for that? He doesn't need to get on him. Goff knows that. I think more than anything, it's just when you go back to practice, you have to re-emphasize it. You have to make sure that you make it a priority when you're being trained. Peter Jabatak says, on paper, it looks like Goff had a good game, but nobody had a good game. Nobody had a good game because it was a loss. Goff, statistically throwing the ball, had a good game. But anything else? No, not really. And part of that was because Goff, yes, had problems securing the football. But the other bigger problem was that he had no time, really. Goff was getting pressured and was under duress just all over the place. And I don't know how to pronounce what your username is, but I don't just ban people for no reason. I give people multiple chances to make sure that, hey, you're willing to be respectful, you're not going to be belligerent, and you're not just going to load up the chat with just ridiculous comments. That person that I just banned, every single show that I've had him on says the exact same stupid crap, and it's like, listen, I'm not going to keep dealing with it. If you're not willing to play by the rules and be respectful and actually be willing to talk intelligently, I'm not going to deal with you. This is my show. This is my platform. I've got one of 2 options for you. If you don't like the way I run my show, you don't have to watch it. I'm not forcing anybody to listen to me talk. Perry Ball says if we sign Goff, it needs to be a 2-year deal. It's not going to be a 2-year deal. I can guarantee you that with every fiber of my being. No quarterback is just going to sign a 2-year deal, especially one like Goff. It's going to be a 3 to 5 year deal minimum, without a doubt. 3 to 5 years. Elizabeth Oberlin says, what is going on with the O-line? That I'm assuming you're saying Jared Goff protection, but also think other teams know that Jared Goff is better when he has time. Well, that's definitely true, Elizabeth. You definitely hit the nail on the head, but that's true for almost any quarterback. The more time a quarterback has in the pocket to get comfortable, the more likely they're able to analyze the field. Perfect point and example. Look at how much time freaking Jordan Love was having in the pocket. He was tearing us to shreds this afternoon because we couldn't get any pressure on him. So for me, it's like, listen, if you give the quarterback plenty of time, they will destroy you. With Goff, it's even more prevalent because when he gets time, he can absolutely be surgically precise. But the thing that I like to point out here with this is that Goff was pressured over 50% of his time today, right? But yet Goff still finished with a 100-plus passer rating. He still finished with a 65% pass completion rate and over 300 yards passing. And, oh, by the way, no interceptions. So despite all the pressure, Goff hung in there and still played a very clean game as a passer. Maybe not as a quarterback overall, but as a passer, he was on top of everything despite the fact that his offensive line was not really giving him a whole lot of time. Chuck Osborne says, Dave, I'm going to put this one out. I'm tired of hearing these people cry about Goff. I do believe he deserves an extension. It's not all his fault. It's the offense too. Again, I agree with what you're saying, Chuck Osborne, and here's the reason why. One individual player is not the reason why an individual unit does good or bad. They might heighten that reason, but they're not the only reason. Case in point, Aiden Hutchinson is not the reason why we can't get sacks. It's the whole defensive line and edge rushing group as a whole. It's not just Aiden Hutchinson. Likewise, Jared Goff is not the reason why the offense can't do well. It's the whole group as a whole. Whether it's the coaching, whether it's the players, offensive line, receivers, whatever the case might be, that is the truth. Trying to blame the woes of a team or a unit on one individual player is just stupid and just not reasonable. Braylon Dennis says, respect the host or leave. Couldn't have put it better myself. Steve O'Baby says, I give Jordan Love credit because he had a great game today. Yeah, he had a great game today. But I'm also going to put this out there. Aaron Glenn made it freaking easy for him to have a good game today. SW Lion 16 says, 17-game season is a long one. They need to find a way to rest Hutchinson, let him take some plays on the sideline. I do believe they do need to do that, and the best way that they can do that is to find somebody opposite of him that can kind of fill in when he's taking those breathers. That's what James Houston used to be. But since he's not playing, now Hutchinson's the only one out there that's really a threat off of the edge. Hopefully when we get Bruce Irvin in the lineup, that will help things a little bit. But I do agree that one of our top priorities in this upcoming draft is either got to be a cornerback or it's got to be an edge rusher. Silence says, no QB in this league is going to be successful with 20-plus pressures and 3 sacks. Facts. Perry Ball says, D-line and O-line should be the biggest needs in the draft and free agency. I do think the O-line is going to get more reinforcements in free agency. I don't know about the draft. We'll see what happens. LDN Podcast says, how do some people have a wrench by their names? The reason why they have a wrench is because I've made them moderators. I've made a couple of people moderators so that way they can have the ability to how do I say this? When I sometimes get bots in there or I have people that are being disrespectful because I can't see everything all the damn time. So it kind of helps to have people be moderators to where they can kind of, be able to see what's going on. So that way I can do the show without having to worry about everything all the damn time. But that's kind of why I have it that way. There's no rhyme or reason, whatever. It's just for me, I just try to keep it so that way there's somebody in there that can really help me out. So that's why I have it. And every time I go through, I try to give more and more so that way people can help me out there because the more moderators I have, the more people I have watching everything. Oh, Lord. Zaquan says, Goff has been horrible the past 2 games, needs to clean it up. Ben Johnson as well. I agree. And I think one of the biggest problems is that I don't know what it is with Ben Johnson, but he's clearly not calling the same game plan that he has in the past. Doug Hedges says, no need to extend Goff this year. Let's see what Hooker has to offer. Hooker's not going to offer anything for a while. Again, the Lions have already stated that they are going to make a huge concentrated effort in the offseason to re-sign him. That right there tells me one simple thing. Since they've already tried to extend him 3 separate times prior to this, Goff is the quarterback going forward. Hooker is going to be a backup. They're going to develop him over the next 3 to 5 years. That's the simple short and nut of it. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. That's the truth. Brian Katowski says our defense regressed from earlier this year. That is definitely true. Elizabeth Oberlin says, why is Bugs being outcast? Rumor has it that he and AG had words. I don't know if he had words or not, but again, it's very odd that when Bugs is in there, our defense does better, and when he's not, our defense does not play as good. I find that to be rather intriguing. Luke Brunskill says, I can't see why Johnson isn't giving Jamo the ball more. He was hot today. Let the dude go. We're actually going to talk about that, but I do agree with you. Jamo had a really good game today. He was catching passes. He was making plays. I think he's on the verge of a breakout. Braylon Dennis says, defense sucks, and you all blame Goff. Fucking hell. Touchdown. 7 points, my friend. Silence says, the D-line is where most of the draft capital has went to. You should be questioning the coaches on their development. Well, I think that goes partially to Aaron Glenn, but I also think that also goes to the fact that we're under a new defensive line coach this year because the last 2 years, we had Todd Walsh as the defensive line coach. He's now out with the Panthers. I have no idea who the hell the defensive line coach is this year, but the fact that we're not playing good ought to tell me right then and there that he's not doing his job very well. Peter Jabatak says, crazy there are people questioning potential Goff extension while we're 8-3 and leading our division. Folks, we haven't been to the playoffs for how long? This team is only going to get better. We haven't been to the playoffs since 2016, 2017, I think was the last time we went. So we haven't been to the playoffs in almost a decade. Cannons Reloaded says, over being a loser Lions fan of 51 years, I'm over it. Make the playoffs so we can just lose it. Fool me once, fool me twice. I'm done. Okay, be done then. What the hell else am I going to say? Please come back. I want you to come back and whine and piss some more. No, thank you. Doug Michael Rusin says the Lions traded picks 122, 139, and 168 to get the rights to Broderick Martin at pick 96. Broderick has 1 tackle in 11 games. That's probably been one of the biggest mysteries to this whole thing. It's like every time Aaron Glenn has stepped in front of the cameras, he has said that freaking Broderick Martin is doing well in practice, but we don't ever see him on the field. And it's like, why? Why don't we see this guy that we traded so much draft capital to freaking get not be on the field? That to me just makes no damn sense.
Because he's not a cornerback.
I don't know about that. He then says, tell me, AG, you couldn't coach him up to play in this game to put some pressure on? Either you or Brad is at fault. Who is it? Again, I think that it's Aaron Glenn because here's the thing. We have seen other players that Brad Holmes has drafted, such as, freaking Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aleem McNeil, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch. The list goes on and on. They're all playing very well. Even Jamo's starting to play well right now. So it's like, I don't think it's Brad Holmes' ability to draft or scout. I think it's Aaron Glenn's ability to coach. Perry Ball says players not to be re-signed and cut: Romeo, Julian Aquaria, Charles Harris, Will Harris, Emmanuel Mosley, and Jerry Jacobs. I might agree with all those except Jerry Jacobs. I know he hasn't been playing very well right now, but he's having a much better year as far as a cornerback intercepting the ball. SW Line 16 says, when you're dominating the trenches, you're going to lose. Green Bay won the battle of the trenches on both sides of the ball. Them be the facts, 100%. Greg C says, well, despite the game, I hope you in the chat had a good Thanksgiving. Absolutely. Again, I'm not going to let the game diminish my ability to celebrate the holiday. There's a lot of things that I am immensely thankful for this year. Without a shadow of a doubt, there are things that I'm extremely thankful for. Braylon Dennis says, stop complaining about Goff. Hooker is unproven. We put him out there. He gets hurt and out for the season. Well, he's not even cleared from NFI yet. It's been almost 2/3 of the year. He still isn't cleared to freaking come back to practice, which means even if he was cleared to practice, he wouldn't be ready to start playing for a good long while. Chuck Osborne says, thank you, Dave. You said what needs to be said. I agree. It's not just one player. It's the whole team. It's supposed to work as a team, not one player to save the team. Again, what is that old adage from when we were kids and we used to play? You win as a team, you lose as a team. It's not one player won. There's not one individual that wins. Again, there is no I in team, period. Perry Ball says Hooker should be healthy and ready for next season. Yeah, he should be healthy and ready for next season. What he's going to be ready for is holding the clipboard. That's all he's going to be ready for. Because realistically, he's not competing for the starting job. He's going to be competing for a backup job. Barking Ducks Adventure says, do you think Johnson and Glenn are both gone next season? I hope Glenn is gone this next season. I do not hope Johnson is. But if they are, it wouldn't surprise me. Lone Wolf says, what I don't understand about the defense is wide receivers are wide open. Man coverage and wide receivers are open. I think the Lions need a big D tackle to take on double teams and free Hutchinson. What they need is another good cornerback. Because think about it. The only cornerback that we have that has any proven success right now is Cameron Sutton. That's it. That's the only cornerback that we have that has any proven success. That's not enough. You need at least 2 viable cornerbacks to be out there covering freaking wide receivers, and we don't have that. We have Cameron Sutton, and our next best is Jerry Jacobs. As much as I like Jerry Jacobs is not a number 2 style cornerback. He is better as a number 3. We need another top cornerback, and we simply don't have it. LDV Tennis says, team still has flaws. I've been saying the O-line is overrated. The so-called strength of the team allowed too much pressure. It wasn't just Sarge, still pressure came from all spots. Oh, for sure. It came from the edges. It came from the interior. Didn't matter who it was. Silent says, the past 2 seasons, Dan has fired 2 coaches mid-season and immediately saw success. We should start axing the dead weight now. I mean, well, I'm going to say this. He didn't technically fire Anthony Lynn. He just replaced his play calling duties. He technically didn't fire him, but I see what you're saying. Doug Michael Rusin says there is $200 to $250 million at stake in contracts. Do you think that is affecting Goff? I don't think that's affecting Goff at all. Goff has been extended before to a mega deal before. I don't think the money or the contract extensions are affecting his play. I think what more is happening here is that Ben Johnson is not calling the offense the way it used to. Because again, think about it. When we get into those 2-minute drills, or when we're behind and we've got to have it those plays, that's when the old style offense starts coming out. Those explosive plays that we're used to seeing, those plays over the middle, those plays that really make this offense work. The rest of the game, it's kind of like this cookie cutter freaking vanilla offense of, we're just going to run straight at him. We're going to do powers, or on 3rd and 1s, we're going to try and run a play action pass or a short pass when, hey, you know what? We've got a running back that'll pick up 4 yards a pop. There are play calls and play designs I just am not understanding from Ben Johnson, and it's not characteristic of him. I'm not saying Jared Goff hasn't been doing the greatest, because he hasn't. But it's like, let's be fair and honest here. I don't think Ben Johnson is doing his best job as a play caller either, because the last 2 weeks, his play designs have not been the greatest. Let's see here. SW Line 16 says, if they're holding Bugs out because of a spat, they're hurting the team. They're better with him in there. I've said that already. When we have Bugs out there playing, this defense plays better. Bugs has the ability to motivate that defensive line, kind of like how CJ GJ has the ability to motivate that secondary. Kind of like the way that Alex Anzalone has the ability to motivate that linebacking core. It's just what he does. Roger Horvath again says, fire AG. Perry Ball says, sorry, making the playoffs as a wild card team is not good enough. The division is weak right now. Okay, let's understand something here. We have to understand how the playoff seeding works here. The Lions can still win the NFC North division without getting the divisional bye week. Because the way the playoffs work now, there's only one divisional team that gets that bye week. So the Lions could be the division winners without getting that divisional bye week, if that makes any sense. Steve O'Baby says, Peter, if we're going to win the division, our defense has to be better. We didn't get 1 sack in that Packers game today. In fact, I'm going to take it one step further for you, Steve. We have had 4 games this year where we have not garnered any sacks. 4. And that's after all the draft capital we've put into that defensive line. We have 4 games where we didn't sack the quarterback 1 time. That to me is a problem. Let's see here. Coach Adam Taylor says, how can I get on the show? I've asked before, and I've posted my email, no response as of yet. Coach, if you want to, post it again, and I can send you the link right now, because I would like to hear what you have to say. You seem pretty adamant about getting on here, and I'm always down for people coming on and expressing their opinions, so long as they do so respectfully. So if you want, drop your email again in the comments. I will see if I can see it again, and if I do, I will send you the link so that way you can get in here. I'm going to try and catch up with some of these comments here, though, really quickly. Destination Outdoor says, we are paying for not getting a pass rush. I hope this is worth it. Silence says, if the D-line actually got pressure, the terrible secondary wouldn't look so bad. That is very true. On to go with Rello says, we'll be good. We'll still be rebuilding that secondary suspect, and we need to add to the O-line. Let's see here. Roger Horvath says, D-line is the major problem. Braylon Dennis says, did you see Rodrigo make his first catch? Ain't he on defense? That was surprising. He is on defense as one of the backup linebackers, but right now his primary role more is as the starting fullback. They've been using him as the fullback more now. SW Line 16 says, Campbell brought the hammer down on Aubrey Pleasant and the team benefited. It's time to bring the hammer down on Glenn. I would like to have that happen, but I just don't think it's going to happen. The only way I see that happening is if freaking Sheila walks into his office and tells him he has to fire him. That's the only way I see it happening. Sean says, Bugs and Aleem need to be out there more. Aleem, especially on 3rd downs. Independent Aquaman says, I phone, but my service doesn't let me call outside of Canada. I can understand that. We've definitely had conversations about how Canada doesn't necessarily always do the greatest. Lone Wolf says, there's something going on between Campbell and Bugs. Bugs is listed as an illness, but in my opinion, I think there's more to the story. It's possible. I don't know. I know other people have said that potentially Bugs and Aaron Glenn had a spat, and that's another reason why he's not playing. Roger Horvath says, good pass rush makes the DBs look better. That's true. That's 100% true. The pass rush and defense's ability to cover, they go hand in hand. It's a perfect marriage. If you have a good pass rush, you're going to have a good pass coverage. If you have a good pass coverage, you're going to have also a good pass rush. They go hand in hand. Coach Adam Taylor says AG is not the total blame. We have mediocre players on defense. The O-line is weak at the guards. Ben Johnson never adjusted to the rush play calling. I mean, some of the players could use some improvement on the defense, but the problem I have is that we've drafted 2 first-rounders on that defense, 2 second-rounders on that defense, and 2 third-rounders on that defense. And we just spent near $100 million last year in free agency signing players. To me, it's like you could make that argument, but it's like for all of the talent and all of the money and resources we've pumped into that defense, I would think at least a little bit that this defense would be doing better than what it is right now. Statistically, this defense is a mid-tier defense. And for all the talent and resources we've pumped into it, I would think it'd be just a little bit better. Brent DeWitt says, saw Hank Fraley chewing MCDCs in the first and I know what you're talking about. In the first or second quarter, he knew his O-line was shit early, and sadly, he was right. Double T says, if people think that Hendon Hooker is going to make a difference in terms of a mobile quarterback, they must be smoking something real good. We need a D-tackle, D-line, punt return, etc. By the way, just call me Double T, which is what I did without even reading that. Good thing I can work on my toes. Silence says Ben Johnson has got away from max protection and 2 3-man routes off play action. He's gotten away from play action in general, relying on pure drop back with Goff, which he can do, but he's a lead off of play action. Again, this offense works best when it does one of 2 things. Either it goes with play action on first or second down, or it runs to set up the play action. Goff can do drop back passing. We've seen him do it quite well. But this offense is predicated on not only timing, but also plays setting up themselves. And Ben Johnson has not been doing that very well the last couple of weeks. Can says, we are 8-3, so not hot-headed decisions need to be made. We're just not a complete team. We'll lose 2 more as long as we clinch the North. I'm good with it. Steve O'Baby says, thank you to me. Elizabeth says, could AG be losing the locker room? Could he? Maybe, but I doubt it. Silence says 2 first-rounders, second-rounders, and 3 third-rounders on the D-line alone. AG has the talent. Perry Ball says Pascal so far is not working out. He needs to step up or might not work out. Again, we have to understand something here. Sometimes these players take years to develop. And I know that for me, it's like, listen, some people have the patience to let things develop, others don't. And the best example I can give of this is right here. There were a lot of people that a couple of weeks ago said, we need to get rid of freaking Jamo. There were people in the offseason we said that we needed to get rid of Jamo. And I kept preaching the same thing. You have to be patient with this young man. Give him time to develop. And we're now starting to see that patience is starting to pay off. He's starting to play a lot better. He's starting to make plays with this offense. You have to do the same thing with every single player because not every single player is going to catch on immediately. You have to give them the time to develop. That's how it works. Let's see here. Doug Hedges says Goff plays well with a clean pocket, but not so much when under pressure. Really? Goff was pressured more than 50% of his time today, and Goff finished with 65% completion rate, over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and 100-plus passer rating. So how did he not play well today as a passer? I'd like to know. Comedy God says, Jamo did pretty good today. I was surprised. I wasn't surprised. I was absolutely elated. I was happy he played well. Glass Joe says, we've been figured out entirely. NFL's a copycat league. If we get the Vikings in the wild card round, we're getting cooked. I'm not so sure about that, but we'll see. Barking Ducks Adventures says, today's game is going to make the 7-hour drive back to New York long. I wish I had the ability to make that drive right now, but the military makes it a little bit difficult. I'm still trying to figure that out. Independent Aquaman says, I think next game Jamo will ball out. When I expected him to do so is already 2 games later, so that'll make it 3 games later. Mr. Sports says, do you think Brad Holmes should get on the phone to see if Shaq Leonard would like to come to Detroit before Philadelphia or Dallas gets him? I wish he would. I seriously wish he would. But the problem is that he's not going to do it. Again, you have to understand how Brad Holmes has built this team. Brad Holmes has never, and I state this again, has never spent that much money on acquiring a free agent. The most money he has ever spent on a free agent was this contract he gave to Cam Sutton. It was a 3-year, $30 million contract. That comes out to about an average of about $11 million a year. There is no way that Shaq Leonard is going to take that little amount of money. He is going to want at least about $15 to $20 million a year. And I guarantee you this, Brad Holmes is not going to hand that out to him. It's just not going to happen. I think that Shaq Leonard would give our defense a massive boost, but I don't think that he's going to do it. I wish he would, though. Independent Aquaman says Jameson did good today, but didn't ball out. Ball out is 150 yards in the game and a touchdown, or 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Soda Pop Soden says, I think the loss hurts more because the way this year has been going, winning Thanksgiving would be a cherry on top for the season. Coach Adam Taylor says Brad Holmes is cheap. I think cheap is a little bit of a strong word. I think the better word you could probably use is he's fiscally conservative. He will spend money when he has to or when he feels that the price is right. But I don't think he's cheap per se. I think that he makes wise decisions with his money. But again, Coach Adam Taylor, I know you said something about wanting to get on the show. If you will, please drop your email in the comments that you're doing right now. I will send you the link so that way I can get you in here. Just going to say that one more time. SW Line 16 says opposing QBs are too comfortable, too many clean pockets. Absolutely. Think about it. The last 3 QBs we've played, Justin Herbert, Justin Fields, and now Jordan Love, all 3 of them have absolutely just freaking shredded our defensive secondary. Why? Because they're not getting pressured. They're not getting sacked. It's that simple. Again, it's a perfect match made in heaven. But anyway, now that I'm officially caught up with all these comments, let's get into our first topic here, which, for crying out loud, we're almost 45 minutes in. We still haven't even gotten to our first topic. That shows how many people are commenting right now. But let's get into our first comment of the night. So, as you guys already know, any comments or questions, so long as I can get to them, I will. But let's get into our first topic. So, Jay, I know you've been muted for a while. Here's the first topic. Who, in your opinion, were the biggest winners today from this Packers game that we had that was a loss? What do you think?
My biggest winners today, J-Mo, St. Brown, and Hutch. I mean, I know a lot of people said he wasn't trying to do nothing, but like they wasn't really watching. He was trying to do what he could do. I mean, that's pretty much about it. Those have probably been my only 3 people.
All right, fair enough. What about you? Chris? Who are your winners from today?
My winners are, I'm going to say J-Mo, because he got us there when we needed, and my boys, Demo and Gibbs.
All right.
Those are my 3.
Well, here are my winners. I think Demo definitely needs to be put in there. He played very good today. He had a lot of good runs. I think J-Mo needs to be put in there. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta needs to be put in there. I'm going to say Jared Goff, because here, the way I look at it is this. Regardless of the fumbles, at the end of the game, that dude was still playing his ass off to try and get us a win. He never once let down. He never once gave up, and I think he still played a pretty good game despite the fumbles. So for me, those are my winners, because when I take a look as far as defensive players, the only player I could think of possibly being a winner on defense might be Brian Branch. That might be it. Because other than that, nobody really stood out on defense because it really wasn't that good of an effort from the defense today. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. Anyway, let's move now from that conversation to the other one. So Jay was first on that one. So now, Chris, it'll be for you. Who are your biggest losers from this game against the Packers?
Jerry Jacobs. He got burned again. My usual from week to week, and y'all already know who it is, Aaron Glenn.
Say that with any more animosity. I couldn't believe you the first time.
Yep, gotta do it. And other than that, I want to say a little bit of Ben Johnson, even though he did what he did, but it's not his usual play calling that he go with. And That's it. I mean, I ain't gonna be too hard on him, but I know that he got more of a creative span that he could have actually did to actually keep the game even close and even probably win it.
All right, fair enough. I mean, for me, I'm just going to be flat out honest. I think you have to include the entire coaching staff because the offensive coaching staff didn't do a good job. The defensive coaching staff didn't do a good job. Neither of the coordinators did a good job. Dan Campbell didn't do a good job. The players weren't ready to play. So the entire coaching staff, they didn't do very well. So they're definite losers, in my opinion. I could go more specific with Aaron Glenn, but I'll save that for later. Specific things that I thought definitely were losers. The offensive line was definitely a loser. They had a hard time protecting Goff. They let the freaking Packers just manhandle them. So that's one. As far as other players, I mean, Jerry Jacobs is probably one because he got freaking burnt like toast against freaking Christian Watson. And I think other than that, I would probably also say – nope, I think that's it. I think that's it for me. Other than the fact that, maybe the refs, I think, were a little bit ridiculous with some of their calls, but that happens every game. All right.
Hey, you missed me, Dave.
Oh, what were your losers today from this game, Jay? Pardon me.
Aaron motherfucking Glenn. No, that's number one.
Already knew that was coming.
I mean, I'm not losing faith in him. He's still my quarterback, but JG, just because this is 5 turnovers within 2 weeks. Like, I mean, I wanted to put him in that win category because of what you said. He was trying to drive us to get that ending game, but them fumbles. One of them wasn't technically a fumble, and then the other one just some Jerry Jacobs. That motherfucker can't cover shit, and I mean the rest of the defensive line, they need to do something. But it all starts with Aaron motherfucking Glenn.
Yes, sir.
Fair enough. I get it. I understand. Again, I would, if I was to be very specific as far as which coach, I definitely would put Aaron Glenn in there. It's just, again, I've said it every damn week almost since week number 2 because Aaron Glenn has virtually not done very well almost the entirety of the time since week number 2. He's only had like 2 or 3 games where things have gone really right for him. And just like I've predicted, every other week, he has struggled mightily.
Hey, whose job is it to pick up the blitz and protect Goff? Like, obviously it's the offensive line, but, what coach is supposed to, obviously they see this shit happening, and they're letting it happen all game. But what coach is supposed to, let them know, when are they supposed to make an adjustment? Is that Ben Johnson? Is that the offensive line? Is that Dan Campbell? They made no type of adjustments. They didn't throw no extra tight ends in there. They didn't try and keep the running back in there to block. It didn't seem like they made no type of adjustment. They just kept letting it come in.
Well, the question you're asking is kind of a multi-layered question because obviously the offensive line coach is responsible for pass protections. But then you also have the running backs coach because running backs are supposed to chip block. They're supposed to do pass protections and sometimes stay in there to give the offensive line a little extra help. You could also include the tight ends in there. Obviously, the quarterback has to be able to read whenever there's a blitz coming in and make appropriate checks to the protection on the line. That's something that Goff does with Frank Ragnow rather often. But the whole point of the matter is that I understand what you're saying. It didn't seem like we were doing any sort of adjustments, like bringing in an extra blocker, bringing a jumbo package in, something to where Jared Goff could get a little bit of extra time. So I understand what you're saying, but the question you're asking is a multi-layered question because it has multiple groups, multiple coaches and players that are all working together in tandem to try and provide that extra pass protection.
Yeah, no, that's what I was meaning. I wasn't sure if that was one person's job or a multi-person job, but I'm just sitting there somebody make a motherfucking adjustment like that, or switch it over to Madden and give me the fucking remote and I'll show you how to make an offensive adjustment. Come on now.
Yep. But all right, let's move to our next conversation topic here, which Jay, you're up first, and this is the topic. So Here it is. The offensive line for this game played probably the worst it's played in about 3 or 4 years. What caused the Lions' offensive line to have the problems it did, in your opinion? This kind of is the backhand, if you will, of the question you were just asking. I think Jay is in the middle of something. So,
What's up?
you are the first person for this question, so I'll repeat the question. Offensive line for this game played the worst it's played in about 3 or 4 years. What caused the Lions' offensive line to have the problems it did, in your opinion?
I think it was just too much hype, honestly. Like, I don't think it was the offensive line. I think it just like the team itself was too hyped. No type of adjustments. I mean, I kind of asked that already. Like, there was no type of adjustments. There was no type of leadership. Nobody trying to help point out a block like, hey, try and double team this person or anything like that. Nobody really stepped up and tried to do anything, but it just too much. They weren't hungry. It kind of reminded me of like Rocky 3 when he went up against Mr. T. Like, he wasn't hungry. He didn't have the eye of the tiger in him. They didn't really want it. Green Bay wanted it more. That's who ended up winning the game.
All right, fair enough. I understand what you're saying. What do you think, Chris? What are your thoughts on the whole matter?
Well, I mean, what's kind of, I want to say it ain't so much our offense, but it is. So I'm gonna be on the fence with that. But the reason why I'm making that to be on the fence is because, for the simple fact, this is a copycat league. So they already trying to break down Goff because Goff is a good quarterback, and they're trying to break him down. They're trying to read him so they can be able to do what Green Bay just did to us. So they're having a lot of success with that, and I'm hoping that Ben Johnson could prepare more for these teams that's trying to copycat, like the teams that we pretty much came in good games, like close, like the Seahawks, the Chargers, and all the rest of the games we had nail biters. They're actually looking at this stuff so they know how to get the Goff. So Ben Johnson gonna have to switch it up a little bit more.
All right, fair enough. I'm just going to make it simple. Well, I think that the Lions' offensive line did very poorly today. Think about it here. The commentator said it from word one, from the very get-go, that the Packers had to come out and they had to be aggressive against this Lions team. They had to, in essence, what Dan Campbell would say, come out and sock them in the mouth and pretty much let them know, hey, we're here and we're going to play you hard all day. If you think about it, they said it throughout the entire course of the game. What were the Packers defensive line doing? They were running blitzes. They were running stunts. They were throwing everything they could against the Lions offensive line, completely confusing them, discombobulating them, getting them off their protection packages and everything else. I honestly think the Lions' offensive line was not prepared for how physical and how aggressive that defensive line was going to be today. And by the time they started making whatever adjustments they might have made, it was too little too late. Because realistically, if we'd have had maybe an extra 5 or 6 minutes, we probably could have found a way to win that game. But again, because we were so late in trying to react or do some sort of an adjustment, we simply could not figure out a way to make it work. So for me, I think the problem was that we simply were just not ready for the physicalness, the aggressiveness of the Packers defensive line or their edge rushers. We thought that they were not going to be as aggressive, or we thought they were going to do something completely different because they just simply did not look like they were ready to play the Packers. It just was clearly evident. But let's take a look at some of these comments here. LDV Tennis says, we keep thinking that Ben Johnson has all the answers, but we forget he's only been an offensive coordinator for one full season. He still has a lot to learn. That is true. And I do agree with what you're saying, LDV, because, again, what most people fail to realize, and sometimes I myself am guilty of this, is that Ben Johnson still has a lot to learn. Yes, he has been a coach in the NFL for quite a while. He does have a lot of coaching experience. But being an offensive coordinator is a completely different animal than being a position coach, a passing game coordinator, or whatever else. You're in charge of a lot more stuff than just one individual unit or one individual thing. So I do think you have a point there. Let's see here. Where was I? Okay, here we go. Elizabeth pops in and says the offensive line problems equals, I think the coaches underestimated the Packers and we played the same game we always do, which they had our number. And coming into the show is Coach Adam Taylor. I've been trying to get you on, man. I was asking what your email was.
I've been trying to get on here, man, and I'm in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner, so I had to sneak out so I could focus and get on the show. But I appreciate you letting me on here.
No, not a problem, man. Hit me up afterwards if you want. Hit me up afterwards so that way I can get you as a regular guest on the show. I always love getting people in. DC, he started in my comments, and then he started being a regular guest.
Nah, man, I appreciate that because I follow everything you post. I mean, I follow it. So, I would love to be a regular guest.
Not a problem, man. If you want, I can give you my
that's how I started out.
Probably not the best thing to give out my digits on this. So if you want,
just shoot me an email. Yeah, just shoot an email.
Yeah, I can figure out something later. But since we're talking about it right now, and I've asked everybody else, and I just gave my opinion, why do you think the offensive line for the Detroit Lions did so poorly today? What would be your thought process on it?
No adjustments, man. Like they blitzed Goff. I think he had like between 22 to 25 pressures, and we were steady more either play action passing, which the run game really wasn't as effective until the second half. And at that point, we was down 14 points. And so the play action is dead. I mean, you're going to fake out with a play action pass down 2 scores. And we never adjusted with getting the ball out quick to open up some deeper throws down the field. So that was the biggest thing for me. Then the horrid call on 3rd and 4, I think, when we faked the top back to Amon-Ra St. Brown and lost 3 yards. So a lot of the play calling was just questionable.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the problem for me is that the thing that I thought the Lions should be doing was what exactly the Packers were doing. Because if you noticed it, they would have those quick throws, those quick repetition throws to kind of set up everything else, get Jordan Love into a rhythm, get him into a groove, and then they'd start opening it up. They were trying to build up the ability to go down deeper. Whereas the Lions, they just stayed to the same tried and true formula. And it's like, listen, at some point, you've got to change the formula. You've got to change the rhythm. So that way it gets the opposing defense off of their rhythm, which is why when we started going into the hurry up, it was actually effective.
It was effective, yeah, because they didn't have time to get set. Another thing, and I know you guys watch the games like I do, man coverage is not our thing. I don't know why we run man coverage, but the last 3 weeks we see Jerry Jacobs get beat deep. I'm like, we don't have man corners. Cam Sutton he's solid, but he's not a great man corner. So I'm like, man, and with us not being able to get pressure, it seems to be ever. Like, I just don't think man coverage is a good scheme for us to run. I know Aaron Glenn was a man cornerback with the Jets back in the mid to late 90s, but I have those corners right now.
No, and I do agree with what you're saying. I think the problem in general is that we can't really right now run either a man or a zone concept very well because the only cornerback that we have that is of any reputation of being decent or good is Cameron Sutton. That's it. We've got a great safety room. We've got Kirby Joseph. We've got Tracy Walker. We've got Brian Branch. And when we get CJ back, we've got him. But past Cameron Sutton, who the hell do we have? Virtually no one. That's a problem, especially in this pass-heavy league that we have right now. It's like, listen, you have to have at least 2 good corners to at least combat the freaking wide receivers that these teams have. And it's like, listen, we can't cover all of them all the damn time. Even if you had a decent pass rush, that's still going to cause problems on the back end. And right now, we don't have a decent pass rush for shit. Pardon my language, but we don't.
No. For nothing. I mean, and everybody knows Aiden Hutchinson is coming off the left. I mean, if anything, we should be, when he goes to D tackle, plays inside, I think we get a better pass rush with that instead of just having them come off the left end because he's just getting chipped or he's triple teamed every time he comes off, and he puts so much effort into every play that he's gassed by the third, fourth play of the series. Because he's just, I mean, he's 1,000 miles an hour the whole time he's in the game. And that's a good thing when it's working. But if you're not getting pressure, I mean, one time I think Jordan Love had about 15 seconds, it felt like, and he threw back across the field. I'm like, dude, and at that point, Aiden Hutchinson was the only one in pursuit. So, I mean, we got to do something. I don't know how we let Chase Young go, and I get it. You got to save your money. You got to save your coins because you want to win, not just for now. But, I mean, I think we really let a couple of pass rushers go that would have helped our Aiden Hutchinson.
Well, the only thing
I don't know how you guys feel about Shaq Leonard.
I think Shaq Leonard would be a very interesting addition, but again, I'm telling you this, if there's one thing about Brad Holmes that he has proven time and time again, is that he likes to go a fiscally conservative route because I guarantee you this, what the Rams did before he left is probably still sitting on the back of his brain. And he's like, listen, I do not want to fall into that pattern because how you build a roster that is sustainable is by not throwing all of your resources into something right up front. So it's like, yeah, could he have gone out and gotten a Chase Young? Absolutely. I guarantee you he could have. But then it's like, okay, well, how do you pay the man? How do you pay the man without screwing up the rest of your roster years on down the road? That's why I think he went with the much more conservative option with Bruce Irvin. And I think they're also waiting for James Houston to come back because think about it. I've said this before, and I know you know this. You get James Houston, Bruce Irvin, and Aiden Hutchinson all coming off the edge, and you start rotating them. Now you have multiple pressure threats coming from different areas. That's going to be much more tough for an offensive line to try and cover because it's like, listen, you can't, as you said, key off on Aiden Hutchinson coming straight off the left-hand side and, you chip him with a running back or a tight end. You double, triple team him. Now you have to play the whole scope of the offensive line and treat everybody as a credible threat. But it is what it is. Unfortunately, I wish we had James Houston back. We should have gotten some word of him coming off of injured reserve or something, but we still haven't heard anything. Bruce Irvin is still on practice squad, but we'll see what happens. Greg Rice pops in with a comment. He says, anyone not named the Sun God or Raymond, Monty, Anzalone, or one of our rookies should be ashamed of their effort today. I don't know about effort. I think more performance is probably what you're going with because I don't question the player's effort, but the performance was questionable for some. Galloping Lake 6 says, happy Thanksgiving. My take was the defense played unfortunately the same, but the offensive line played horrible. Yet even with all the Lions' mistakes and fake punts, if Campbell needed those field goals. I mean, Campbell at least left 6 or 9 points off the board by constantly going for it on fourth down. Because think about it. If we had gotten at least 2 of those field goals that we were in range for, instead of looking at a 7-point game difference, we're now looking at a freaking 4-point game difference. That puts a lot more pressure on the Packers, which means there's more chances for mistakes, which I think would have definitely made things a little bit more, at the very least, exciting, tense maybe. But either way, let's see here, trying to get to some of these other comments. James Lowe says 2 passes dropped by Lions receivers, 2 passes knocked down by the Packers defensive line. Blocking by the Lions line was bad for about 20 plays. Lions defensive backfield gave too much space to the Packers. I mean, you're not wrong. It was plainly obvious. Greg Rice then says, we all love the story of Jerry Jacobs, but he's going to be a liability in the playoffs. I mean, that whole defensive backfield outside of Cameron Sutton is going to be a liability. Again, I fully expect we're going to get C.J. Gardner-Johnson back for the playoffs, but it's like, listen, there's only so much that our safeties can do. You have to have another credible corner, and unfortunately, we simply don't. That's just the truth of the matter. He then says that Cam Sutton overall has not earned his contract either. We came out today with a lot more questions than answers, sadly. I think the question that the questions you're referring to simply comes down to just one simple thing. And I said this to the guys previously before I started the show. Sometimes, and as much as this is going to sound really bad, but I'm just going to say it, sometimes you need a loss to refocus yourself, to get your mind back in the right headspace, because you have to think about it here. For the majority of the year, the Lions have been talked up like, oh man, the Lions, they're doing so great, blah, 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 blah. They're just this great team. Okay. Sometimes you need to be knocked down a peg or two to be like, okay, yeah, we're not as great as we think we are. We need to get our heads out of our asses and refocus on our jobs. And I think that's what this game's going to do. Because it's like, okay, Thanksgiving has been the Lions thing since the damn 60s. Everybody was expecting the Lions were going to win and going to hand a loss to their division rivals, the freaking Packers, who had an injury list like a fucking MASH unit. Instead, the Packers come in and they freaking wallop us. So it's like, okay, reality check time. We're not as good as we think we are. We need to accept the challenge of getting our heads back in the game and getting back to work. And plus, on top of that, this next game we got coming up against the Saints is a rather important one because it's going to be a lot of emotions. Greg Reich then says we got to stop making excuses for Hutchinson as well. He simply cannot go another 225 consecutive pass rush snaps without a sack. He's our superstar. He needs to play like one. I agree, Greg, but at the same time, he's really the only effective pass rusher that we have right now. Again,
absolutely.
The Aquara brothers, as much as I was hoping that Romeo Aquara, after he came back from the Achilles tear, was going to do good, he's just not done anything. He simply has not done anything. Julian has not done anything. And Charles Harris has pretty much reverted back to his bust form. So outside of those guys, who do we really have as an edge rusher? Maybe John Kaminsky, but he's more of an inside threat as an end. Not as an Brent DeWitt says, AG is proving he was a better player than coach. Time for Dan Campbell to make the hardest fire of his coaching career, but his personal feelings aside and part ways at the end of the season. Joe Mo Lion King says he can get Leonard for the league minimum this year because of what Indy owes him. Okay, that's fair enough. But again, you have to ask yourself the cost effectiveness here. Are you willing to just go for a couple of games rental, or would you rather try and get him long term? I think if Brad Holmes is going to acquire somebody of his talent and his age, you're probably going to try and do more than just a couple of games rental. That's just my personal opinion.
Exactly.
All right, here. Let's move. Holy crap, you guys are just going away. And if I don't get to some more topics here, we're never going to get over with this. So let's get into the next topic here. Let me pull down that current comment. So, Coach, you just came in, so I'm going to let you have first dibs at this one. So here we go. As soon as it'll pop up. Lions defense was absolutely torn to shreds by Jordan Love. How concerning is this to you that Jordan Love tore our defense apart?
As always, very concerning because, again, we can't stop quarterbacks who can move a little bit. They don't have to be Lamar Jackson or Justin Fields, but any quarterback who's just has a little bit of mobility will be in trouble come the playoffs. You think about it. Brock Purdy, he can move. Jalen Hurts, he's a runner. Even Dobbs, because we played Minnesota 3 times, which is that is a possibility. Man, we got a long list of trouble. Now, we should do good with the Saints because Derek Carr's a statue. But any quarterback that can move, man, it's just like, and it's been for years now. It's just not this year. It's like we struggle with mobile quarterbacks, which is crazy.
Is Carr in? I thought Carr was out. Ain't Winston in?
I mean, it depends. He
It
could
depends.
be in next week, but I see what you're saying, Jay. There, at this point, the best way I could say it is there's a possibility either one of them could play. But let's be fair and honest here. While Carr is a statue, Winston's not much more mobile. He's got a little bit more mobility, but I will say this. The thing with Winston is he is a freaking interception machine. When you have the same amount of touchdowns to interceptions in a season and they're in the 30s, that tells me all I need to know about you as a quarterback. So I understand exactly what Coach Adam Taylor is saying there. So good comment there, Coach. Jay, what are your thoughts on this? How concerning is it that Jordan Love absolutely tore us to shreds this afternoon?
I think it's time for them. I mean, I know they're not going to make the decision, but I think it's time for Aaron motherfucking Glenn to get the fuck out of Detroit. That's how concerning it is. It's time. His time here is done. He's not going to be our best defensive coordinator. He's got a long way to go. He's got a lot to learn. He needs to go back to coaching defensive backs and learning how to do something before he can try and be the best defensive coordinator for somebody.
All right, fair enough. Chris, what about you? How concerning is it that Jordan Love, in your opinion, tore us to shreds this afternoon?
You already know, but I'm elaborating on it. Aaron motherfucking Glenn.
I'm going to say this right now.
Man.
You are not going to hear the end of that one. You are not
That's
going to
I
hear the end of
don't.
it.
Hey, anybody who want to say something about it, I don't give two fucks. No, I don't. Because what I seen today, bro, we better all building up our man coverage. Because when I seen that zone, I saw so many gaps. I said, then 40-yard bomb up another one.
At this point, Chris, I know what you're saying. Shit, let Dan Campbell take over the coaching jobs on defense. He did all right with the offense until he found Ben Johnson.
At this point,
bro, and I approve that
I've said
message
it before.
clearly.
I've said this before. If, by the grace of God, we were to fire Aaron Glenn, there are two guys on that defense that I would want to take over.
John Fox.
John Fox would be one. The other one would be
Yes,
Kelvin
sir.
Shepard.
Yeah.
Kelvin Shepard or John Fox are the guys that I want taking over. And for one simple reason, Kelvin Shepard has the passion and the fire that the players will respect. John Fox has the experience that could help turn this defense around because that guy he's been on multiple Super Bowl teams. He is a established, respected defensive man. So for me, it's like, okay, if you get him in the coach, he's going to have something to get that defense turned around. But to answer the question I was asking everybody, how concerning this is very concerning because let's understand something here. I could make a reason as to why Justin Herbert shredded us. Justin Herbert, in my opinion, is a top 10 quarterback. And if not top 10, he's just outside the top 10. That's how good he is. Justin Fields, that one was a bit concerning to me because it's like, listen, the guy hasn't played in a month. He's coming off of a freaking busted up right thumb that's not still 100%, so that was a problem. But you have to think about Jordan Love here. Jordan Love is still trying to figure out how to be a starting quarterback because up until this year, he was on the bench for 3 years. So he still doesn't know how it is to be a starting quarterback but just yet. But yet, against our defense, a defense that everybody and their brother has told me, oh, it's a top 10 defense. It's a great defense. And Aaron Glenn has said, I think we have a pretty damn good defense. Oh, that's right. How good did Jordan Love look today? Pretty damn mother flipping good. And Jordan Love, as much as a lot of people would like to think that he might be the next whatever quarterback for the Packers, he's got a long way to go in that regard. But here's what I'm just going to say right now. If Justin Fields and Jordan Love are doing this to our passing defense, I just got one question for you. What the hell do you think is going to happen when we go up against the likes of Dak Prescott, and the other quarterbacks in the playoffs that we're most likely going to face, like Brock Purdy, Jalen Hurts, and other guys like that? They will make our freaking Mickey Mouse defense look like ass. I mean, tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. You can't. Everything you're saying is facts. Even if we see Geno again, Geno gonna shred at us 2 years in a row.
I mean, the point of the matter is that I'm sorry. Here's the way I see our defense right now. Here's the way I see our team right now. Even if our offense was to play lights out every mother flipping week, our defense still, at best, is only going to be average. And the perfect team from previous history that I can think of right now that fits exactly what the Lions are is the Chargers of the 1980s with Dan Fouts and freaking Winslow. They could score points like nobody's business every freaking week, but their defense was trash, which is why they could never do anything in the postseason because their defense couldn't stop opposing offenses. And even the players from that time had the same thing I'm saying. It's hard to win when the opposing defense is giving up 30, 40 points a week because you can only put up so many points. The point of the matter is if, like I said, if Justin Fields and Jordan Love are doing this to us, we're in for a very, very long offseason again.
Going back to what you just said, Dave, I was going to say offense wins games, defense wins championships. You can't always rely on that offense to try and outscore the other team.
I agree.
This should have been an offensive, fucking explosion. They should have. Oh my God.
Let's see here. Paulette, I'm just going to say Paulette says, AG is not going to get fired this season, so what's the answer going forward? The answer is good luck. If AG does not get fired or gets hired by another team as a head coach, we are royally screwed. Because I'm sorry, the old saying, the old adage in the NFL is that it takes 3 years for a player or a team to start showing results. Here's the thing. The offense has been showing results. The offensive players have been showing results. But ain't it funny that Aaron Glenn, who's been the defensive coordinator now for going on his 3rd year, is still having the same problems he had his first year, with more talent, more resources than he had in his first year. So for me, it's like, okay, if you're still having the same problems you had in year 1, yet you've gotten more resources to help fix said problems, what the hell makes me think that the next year is going to be any damn different? Like, seriously, what makes me think anything's going to change? What's the definition of insanity? Expecting something different, and yet the same damn thing keeps happening. So for me, it's just like I have no confidence. I have no expectation from Aaron Glenn except repeated annoyance would be the best word.
Another answer might be too, Dave, is like when this draft comes up, because I know Brad Holmes is going to be looking to get a top tier cornerback in that first round.
I've already said it multiple times. In the first round of this year, Brad Holmes needs to do one of 2 things. He has got to either draft a cornerback or he has got to draft an edge rusher. There can be no exceptions on that one because the defense this year has crapped the bed more times than anybody could care to recollect. And the biggest reason why is because we cannot get after quarterbacks. We cannot get turnovers off of quarterbacks. It is a proven mother flipping fact.
But this will be another year that he gets his support and help. And then maybe, hopefully, this is his year and we can show him to be good enough to get him the fuck out. So we can just hope and pray.
What do you got, Chris? I know you're trying to say something.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm going to break this down for the one time. Bro, Dave, you got to be the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. And you already know why I'm – no, don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Because if you can see Aaron Glenn and shit, and if I can see Aaron Glenn and shit, and we're not defensive minds, we'll do a better job than his ass. And y'all was talking about Dobbs in Minnesota. We might split or lose both of them too because he's very mobile. I looked at some of his highlights, and that boy, he unpredictable, and that's bad for us. So, man, I hope that we can win out and at least snatch one from Minnesota. If we can't, I hope we don't drop to a wild card.
Here's the biggest problem that I have with Aaron Glenn. I could give him a pass if he was willing to admit that he made mistakes or he was willing to admit that, you know what, I didn't do a good job. But every damn time that man steps in front of a camera, he always thinks, oh, well, I did a good job. I think our game plan was sound. I think we did this right. We just had a couple of things wrong here or there. And it's like, how can you possibly stand in front of me and lie straight to my face? Again, I'm of the old adage, like, don't piss on my back and call it rain. I know a lie and I know bullshit when I see it. And for me, that's total BS. Because it's like, this is the same man who wanted to tell everybody that against mobile quarterbacks, he was not going to use a QB spy. I'm sorry, but the whole definition of a QB spy is to have someone directly linked to the quarterback in case he does scramble. It's the very thing you use against mobile quarterbacks. And yet this man over here is trying to tell me that all of that sound logic that has been used for decades, longer than he's been alive, is not something he's going to use. I'm sorry, but that's not only the definition of insanity, that's the definition of arrogance. And I can't stand arrogant people because it's like, listen, if you're not willing to admit when you're wrong or willing to take some sort of help somewhere, that to me tells me that you're not in a place to do your job effectively. Because some of the best coaches are the ones that are willing to take ideas off of others and are willing to say, okay, maybe I don't know everything. Maybe I should try and find out something else from somewhere else. But it is what it is.
That's why I'm going to get a sign that say, Dave for OC, or my bad, DC.
Either way, I just know that again, I've heard commentators say it, I have said it, fans have said it. It's like, listen, dude, there comes a time where it's just like, listen, there's no more excuses. There is no more reasons. There is nothing else that you can say. There is not a damn thing you can offer as a defense before it's just like, listen, he must fucking go at all costs. Because the thing I think about it is this. When we fired Bum Tricia and Quinn, we did it halfway through the season so we could start the head coaching search halfway faster than most other teams. That's how we got Dan Campbell. That's how we got freaking Brad Holmes. If you fire freaking Aaron Glenn right now, is it probably going to have a bad effect for the first couple of games? Yeah, it probably will. But if you want it to happen right now, this is the time to do it. Don't fucking do it before the freaking playoffs, and then you're screwed. Or do it in the off season, and you're giving that defensive coordinator less time to implement his new scheme. Start the search now.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yep. That's what. Yep. I was about to say that was my next comment because I was about to say the best time is now, or at least give them another game, even though I'm gritting my teeth and I hate it, but give them another game so we can at least lock down the NFC North like we supposed to, then get rid of his ass.
Either way, I'm gonna move on to the next topic here. So we're gonna stay on Glenn, but we're gonna actually kind of segue into a different part of Glenn. So, Coach, you'll be first again. So here's the question. During the post-game press conference, Dan Campbell was asked why he was more critical of the offense than the defense. So my question is this. Why will Campbell not criticize or hold Glenn accountable for his failures, but is so keen to make sure to say that the offense is not doing its job? Why do you think that he will not, publicly admonish or say that Glenn is not doing his job or that the defense is not holding up to their end of the bargain? What do you think?
I would say because he knows the offense is the bread and butter. So if the offense to him, I'm assuming, doesn't hold up their end of the bargain, he puts more of the onus on them, knowing that the defense is not that good already going in. So and again, everybody says him and AG are best friends, so that could have something to do with it too. But that's me being an offensive coordinator, high school offensive coordinator. When you know your offense is like your bread and butter, and your defense is not that good, it's a waste of time to kind of put all the onus on the defense that that's mediocre, like Chris said, going in.
Absolutely. All right, fair enough. What do you think, Chris? Why do you think that Dan Campbell will not admonish or criticize Aaron Glenn to the same extent or at all like he does the offense? What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are pretty comical because I can read behind that press bull crap because I played. Basically, in so many words, AG is a butthole, which puts a lot of pressure on Dan Campbell with the high-power offense that he has. But some high-power offenses do get tired, so that's where AG got to step up. But like Coach said, man, I know they having it out, and you want to know what actually had me thinking that way, and the leak is out. Is Bugs and CJ be going at Aaron Glenn's neck because they got more experience on that team than a lot of our new guys at AG. Like, well, I got 40, 50 years of this. What, making everybody a cornerback? Yeah, okay. You ought to put people where they're strong at. Like when Hutch came out, he was strong at where he was. Now AG got him doing pass coverage and this and that. Don't use him there if that's not his strong suit. So don't make him a cornerback if you don't have to. If he gonna rush the passer, that's his specialty. Let him do that. So that's my comical wrap up.
Okay, I agree. Very good comment. Very good points, Chris. What do you think, Jay? Why do you think that Dan Campbell will not be admonishing or is critical towards Aaron Glenn and his defense as much as he is towards the offense? Why do you think that's the case?
I mean, I think it's the same thing as like the coach said. But the only thing I wanted to kind of comment on that was if Dan Campbell knows that the defense is struggling and it's having its issues, He's not said anything. He's not done anything about it. There's not been any type of conversations between him and AG to improve anything. He's taken over the
Excuse me.
coaching roles. He hasn't tried to do nothing with the defense. So that kind of worries me. I think it's more of just
Ooh,
these
excuse me,
two are
sorry, y'all.
like really good buddies, and he's not trying to like really put his buddy out there because he wants to help him get a head coaching job. Hey, I'm down for that. Help your buddy get a head coaching job, move up in the world, try and get a better job. But if it's not meant for you, it's not meant for you type shit. But the other thing is when you got a number 2 defense a number 2 offense, I think they said in the NFL, I think we were like number 2 rated, and we're not playing at number 2. They're gonna hold the offense more accountable. Like, why weren't you guys are rated to be number 2, but you're not playing like number 2? So they're gonna be looking at the offense more than the defense because we're rated to be number 2. Hey, we're rated number 5 in the pass. They didn't beat us through the pass. The rush. They didn't beat us through the rush. They beat us through the air. The excuses on that. We don't have defensive coverage. We don't have a pass rush. We don't have this. We don't have that. There's gonna always be something for the defense, but for the offense, we don't have an excuse. We've shown we're number 2. We've shown we can put up the points.
Well, here's what I'm gonna say. I think part of the problem is that, one, I think everybody already knows it, and everyone's kind of highlighted on it a little bit, is that there is such a strong friend relationship between Campbell and between Glenn. And I think to a certain extent that personal relationship that those two have does kind of cloud the judgment, does kind of cloud the ability for Campbell to want to actually step out and criticize his friend. So that to me is part of the problem. But I think also part of the problem is that I think in some way, if Campbell steps out and he actually goes after the defense, I think what that is going to start causing is it's going to start causing some undue problems that nobody else is wanting to address. Because again, kind of to look on this in a different way. Think about this. People have kind of, how should I say, kind of danced around this topic, but think about this. Think about this in the most backhanded way you possibly could. I've said multiple times that Brad Holmes has drafted 56% of his draft picks have gone towards the defense over the last 3 years. I've done the math on this. I just said that out of the $100 and something million we spent in total cash this offseason, about 70% of that went to the defense. Here's why I'm thinking also part of the reason why Campbell's not wanting to talk about this. This might be a long shot, but just go along with me on this one. If Dan Campbell starts questioning the defense, then the question starts leaning into, well, are you guys making the right decisions on who you're drafting, on who you're signing, and all this other nonsense? Because think about it here. All the draft resources and money that we've practically put into this team have gone primarily to the defense. That's not to say something hasn't gone to the offense. But if you start questioning the defense, then you're going to have to start questioning the team management. Okay, are these the right guys that you're drafting? Or is it the coaching problem? Again, for me, it's one of those situations where it's a delicate line to walk. So I think that might also be part of the reason why Campbell's not willing to openly criticize the defense. It also might be, in his opinion, that he thinks that maybe the defense is a little bit behind the offense in terms of its ability to perform on a consistent basis. I don't know. But the whole point of the matter is that one of the things that for me as a coach has to be 100% across the board, without fail, is you have to be completely 100% fair and honest on whatever you're going to talk about. You cannot treat one side better than the other. You cannot hold one side to a higher standard than the other. It's like, listen, we win as a team, we fail as a team. We perform as a team, or we don't perform as a team. You do not say that, oh, well, I'm going to hold the offense to a higher standard because I think that offensive line is really good, but I'm not going to hold the defense to a higher standard because of whatever reason I can possibly think of. It's like, no. We either are all going to perform well or we're not all going to perform well. I'm going to hold the offense to the same standard as I hold the defense to the same standard. You can't start having different standards and different sets of rules and expectations, because then all that's going to do is cause confusion, not only from the players, but it's also going to cause confusions from people that are watching and expecting that team to win, because it's like, wait a minute here. If the expectation for the defense is less than what the offense is doing, that means you're going to allow the offense to have to do more than what the defense has to do. For me, that just doesn't make any sense. And I'm done with you. All I'm going to say is that for me, one of two things has got to happen from Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell either has to acknowledge that Aaron Glenn in this defense is simply not doing its job, or he has got to do something about Aaron Glenn and either one, have somebody else take over play calling duties, or he has to fire him. Because at this point, I just don't see another way that this is going to work. Aaron Glenn has been the defensive coordinator for going on 3 years, and we are seeing the same damn thing we've seen all 3 years. It's like at this point, it's like, listen, what you're doing is clearly not working. Somebody else has got to do something different so that way we can see something better or potentially worse to know what we have or what we don't have. Anyway, moving on to the next topic here. So, Coach, you'll be up on this one as well. So, here is, oh, and Jay just popped in. I think he had problems with his phone. So, here's the topic, Coach, if you're ready. Okay, maybe not. I'll go with Jay on this one to start us off with. So, Jay, here's the topic here. Jared Goff had a problem today with fumbles, but played well throwing the ball. You okay there, Jay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. I'll repeat the question. Jared Goff had a problem today with fumbles, but played well throwing the ball, regardless of the constant pressure he faced. So I'm just going to ask the question that a lot of Goff haters and SOL fans are saying. Is Goff the reason that the Lions lost today? What do you think?
It's a 50-50, honestly, in my opinion. The 50-50, the 2 fumbles, yes, obviously one of those was brought back for a touchdown. That's 6 points right there, even though I think it was a bullshit call. With those 6 points back, that would have been something different. And then the other 50%, no, because Aaron motherfucking Glenn didn't do shit to change anything to fucking stop Jordan Love looking like he's the next coming of the whatever the fucking Packers say they can do. Like they can find the greatest quarterbacks and have them sit for 3 years, and next thing you know, oh, here you go. You can just take over a job. Like, I mean, for me, it's 50-50 just because, like I said, the 5 turnovers in the 2 weeks, like, we almost lost to Chicago. That should have been a fucking blowout. And we come into Thanksgiving looking like, okay, that game should have been a win, and just the too many turnovers within too little time.
All right, fair enough. Chris, what do you think? Do you think that Goff was the reason that the Lions won today? Or, sorry, lost today. Pardon me. Had that backwards.
No, he's not the reason why they lost today. It was a collective effort. I mean, it was the team as a whole, offense and defense. They did not come ready to play, and you already know my biggest problem. But the offense had a little bit of a problem too. So, I mean, that's what I got to say on that one. So it wasn't on Goff, even though Goff made those mistakes. Even if they would have came swinging like they did before, we still would have came out with something.
All right, fair enough. What about you, Coach? What do you think? Do you think that the Lions lost today against the Packers was on Goff or no?
No, mistakes happen. I mean, I know the 2 fumbles put us in a hole, but to me, this was a total team loss. Players and coaches involved. I mean, because I haven't heard anybody yet talk about the fake punt on our own 20, snapping the ball to a linebacker. I haven't heard anybody say anything about that. But no, because even without Goff, and if we didn't have Goff, we probably would have lost the game 35 to shit. So, mistakes happen. Mistakes happen. So I wouldn't say I'm like Jay. You can put 50% on him because we lost by 7, but you can put the 50% on the defense. But to me, it's a total team loss. It wasn't just one person.
All right, fair enough. And I'm going to say this. Part of the loss does go on Goff because of the fact that, yes, Goff did have 3 turnovers. But again, let's think about this because I talked about this in my previous episode last week when people were getting on Goff about the 3 interceptions and saying, oh, maybe he's point shaving. Okay, back up here. Let's use our common sense here. Let's use our brains here for a minute. The first fumble, in my opinion, should not have been called a fumble. That should have been called a forward pass and called dead, number 1. The second fumble where Goff escaped the pocket and was trying to pick up yards, that was definitely a fumble. That was definitely on Goff. That was horrible ball protection. He definitely deserves to be criticized for that one because he had the ball all the way out here. Anybody who has played football and has been a skill position, whether it's a quarterback, a running back, a tight end, a wide receiver, they all know the rule about running with the football. It's high and tight, so it's close to the body, so you do not fumble the ball. Jared Goff broke that rule, and he paid for that rule. So that one he definitely deserves. Now, the third fumble here. Here's why I think that one doesn't make a damn bit of difference one way or the other. It was 4th down anyway. The play was not going to work. So whether Goff fumbled the ball or not was irrelevant. They were still turning the ball over. Whether it was a turnover on downs or because it was a fumble made no damn difference. So getting all butthurt about Goff having fumbles when 2 of them realistically should not have been called or shouldn't have mattered, to me makes no damn difference. The one that did get a fumble, okay, fine, you could say something about that. But if I recall correctly, on that fumble that did happen, I think the defense held them to 3 points. So again, I'm not as worried about the fumbles. So yes, you could say part of the loss is on Goff, but I'm going to say this right now. Without Goff, we don't have 14 points because Goff scored 2 touchdowns. Without Goff, we don't get to a point where that game at least looks respectable at the end. And then finally, I'm just going to put this point out there. Without Goff, we don't have this game look as respectable as it does, number 1. But we also don't win the game last week against the Bears. We don't win the game against the freaking Chargers before that. And we sure as hell don't win the game against the Bucs that we had earlier in the year. So here's my point. Everyone can say and be critical of Goff all they want. That's fine. They're entitled to their opinion. But let me just ask you this question. You take those 3 wins that I just talked about, Bears, Chargers, and Bucs. You now all of a sudden go from having an 8-3 record to a 5-6 record at bare minimum. So let me ask you this question. Which would you prefer? The 8-3 record, or would you prefer the 5-6 record? I'll wait and see anybody who wants to take me up on that 5-6 record. I will sit and wait for a long while. Just going to say that for what it is. But anyway, I don't think the loss is totally on Goff. I think you can attribute part of it. But again, like everyone was kind of saying, this was a team loss. The defense did not play very good the entirety of the game. They had some bright spots. The offense did not play very well the entirety of the game. They had a couple of bright spots. The coaching was absolutely horrible. It's a team loss. Coaches, players, everybody deserves to have a hand in why we lost this game, period. Anyway, let's take a look at some of these comments here. Theo says the defense stopped Green Bay when it was needed to, or the Lions wouldn't have had a chance to get back into the game. That is true. But at the same time, there were also times where the defense looked completely confused and just absolutely out of their element. Steve-O says, we might have been able to win that game if Dan didn't fake that punt and kick some field goals. I agree. Nick Burton says, Cowboys are winning 45-10. Need to trade Aaron Glenn to the Cowboys for Dan Quinn. They ain't no way they're going to take that deal. Silent says, too little, too late. How about they make stops early in the game, not when they're down by 2 possessions? Tavka Day says, if you're going to troll, at least be clever or original. Saying Jordan Love is a Hall of Famer is just moronic. Anybody who thinks that Jordan Love is a Hall of Famer is beyond moronic. I think they need to stop sniffing paint thinner. Theo says, Glasgow was getting destroyed all game long. Destination Outdoor says, our O-line got their butt kicked, especially Graham. He was getting tossed around like a rag doll. Doug Michael Rusin says, notice that the Green Bay chose to start on offense. Most teams don't after winning the coin toss. Tells you they didn't respect the Lions' defense. That is a actual very good observance, Doug. I really actually glad you brought that up. Galloping Lake 6 says, the crazy thing is if Campbell took those 3 field goals, Lions would have won 32-29. Yep, that is true. Steve O says it was a fumble. It was out of his hand on the way back. You can say it was a fumble, but as far as I'm concerned, his hand was going forward. If his hand is going forward, that is a forward motion. That is a pass. Anybody that wants to argue with me, I'm going to say, listen, was your hand going forward? Were you in the process of throwing the ball? Yes, that's not a fumble. That is a forward pass. You might not like that as a rule because it's too similar to the tuck rule, but I'm sorry. Prove to me that I'm wrong. If your hand is going forward to try and get rid of the ball as a throw, that is a throw. That is an attempted throw. Silence says exactly. Dan not taking the points is just dumb. Silence says without Goff, the Lions don't win 3 games with this defense. Braylon Dennis says, nope, 8-3 is good for me. Independent Aquaman says, the ones who accused Goff of point shaving last game are now attacking him for the fumbles today. Laugh my ass off at those jealous turds. Oh, boy. J.I. says, sometimes you have to take the points and not attempt risky fourth downs. Silence says, QBs have bad games. Absolutely, they have bad games. Doesn't matter if it's Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Big Ben, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers. Every good quarterback that's ever played has bad games. Sometimes they have multiple bad games. It's just the nature of the game. Let's see here. Jatavius Fuller says, stop crying, Jared Goff. Yeah, right. Okay, whatever, dude. You keep sniffing the paint thinner. Go right ahead. LDB Tennis says, when the D comes out playing like crap, when the O-line comes out playing like crap, Goff has to be perfect for the team to have any chance. And the point of the matter is that that's hard to do. That's hard for any quarterback to do. Alex Wolf says, we're 8-2 with Aaron Glenn as well, so I don't see the difference with the Goff reference. No. Back up there, my friend. Name the majority of the games where Aaron Glenn's defense has done well. There's only been literally 2 games where the Lions defense under Glenn has done well, and I can literally name you what games those were. That was the Packers game, and that was the Falcons game. Those are the only 2 games that we have done very well on defense. And the Packers and Falcons game were at the very beginning of the season. Ever since then, Aaron Glenn's defense has been mediocre at best to downright god-awful at worst.
The Panthers was another one too, Dave. They did really well against Bryce Young.
Okay,
I'm
fine.
saying Carolina.
The Panthers game as well, fine. But even still, we played what now? 11 games? Out of 11 games, he's only had 3 really good ones. I'm sorry. That to me makes no sense.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to help his comment because I was gonna say he's fucking sniffing paint thinner.
Either way, the point of the matter is that you cannot say that the reason why the Lions are 8-2 has also to do with Aaron Glenn. That's just simply not true. That's just simply not true. Aaron Glenn, if anything, is holding the Lions back. The reason why the Lions have won more games than they've lost is because the offense has bailed them out more times than not. Think about it. Let me ask this question. How many times has the Lions defense bailed out the Lions offense? The only game I can think of that even applies would be the last game we just played prior to this one, which is the Bears game. Other than that, that's not really been the case. The Lions offense has always had to pull some rabbit out of its ass to make it work.
I was about to say, I would ask this Alex Wolf person, how did we lose against the Seahawks and the
Ravens?
Yep.
Either way, the point of the matter is this. The Lions offense has been the more prominent reason why we've won games rather than the defense. That's just the pure truth. Anybody that wants to argue with that, all you got to do is take a look at the freaking stats. The freaking stats will tell you a picture right away because the Lions offense is top 10. The Lions defense is average. So how does an average defense be more of a reason why we're winning games than a top 10 offense? I'm just curious. How do you make that argument logical? How do you make that argument even reasonable? Just saying. But anyway, let's move off this topic. Let's move into the next one. So, Coach, I got you first, so here we go. Jameson Williams had arguably his most complete game as a receiving threat today. Do you think he is going to start being a more featured threat in this offense? What do you think?
All right, I'm gonna answer this one. Then I gotta go. I gotta help my mom.
That's all right, man. I understand.
I think he should. I think he should be because I mean we look week in and week out, and he only gets 2 or 3 targets. I know everybody brings up that Baltimore game, which is now light years behind us, but I think the momentum that he's getting now, I I think we need to start using him more other than just a deep threat. Using him on crossers, the little quick screens, quick slants. Let's see what he can really do because any game he's in, everybody knows if he's coming in, he's going to be some route that's over 15 yards down the field. So
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
I think moving forward, if we use him more, I would never say Amon-Ra St. Brown, but just the way we use Khalif Raymond. Khalif Raymond's an unsung hero, and I know I'm going off topic a little bit, but the way we use Khalif Raymond, I think Jameson Williams can do the same thing.
Oh, I agree. I 100% agree. And I know you got to go, so thank you, Coach, for coming in. Hopefully,
Thank you
I
for
will hear.
having me.
Yeah, hopefully you'll come back and I can have you as a regular. But thank you
Yeah,
for your time, man.
yes, sir. Definitely send me your email.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Y'all guys take care.
Yep,
Yeah.
All right.
I'll drop it in the comments right now. So hang on for a moment. Hopefully he does hang on for a moment. But here's what I'm going to say really quickly. For me, if you think about it, the one thing I saw out of Jameson Williams today, and it was kind of in a continuation of yet last week, was this. Jameson Williams is not just, being a deep threat in terms of he's always getting bombs. We saw a play today. It was a crossing route over the middle. It was a designed 10, maybe 15-yard play, but then Jameson Williams cut up and took it for almost 40 yards. That to me is like, okay, Jameson Williams is starting to expand his role in this offense. He's starting to become more inclusive in this offense. He's starting to have a much more prominent role in the offense. And the one thing I saw is that he was freaking fighting for yards at the end of that. Like, he did not want to go down. So he's starting to exhibit the traits that Dan Campbell's teammates are looking for out of him, and Dan Campbell is looking for. For me, I think JMO is actually almost on the verge of becoming that number 2 wide receiver that we were looking for, opposite of Amon-Ra St. Brown. And again, I liked what Coach said before he left really quickly, because to me, it's like, listen, we kind of use JMO the same way we use Khalif Raymond, only JMO's much bigger and he's much faster. So for me, it's like, listen, if you can start integrating the same kind of concepts that you do with Khalif Raymond to Jameson Williams, you're going to have a really explosive player. You're going to have a really, how do I put this, scary player. Because now you can start using the multiple concepts rather than just a burner. That's just my personal thought. But what do you think, Jay? What are your thoughts on Jameson Williams?
I mean, I think he's just starting to come into it, and I think it all came from after that. He took that, they made him take that hit, basically, in that game when he took that hit, and then just him putting the work in and the blocking and just whatnot. I just think, like you say, he's coming into the role, looking at he gonna take that number 2 spot. He's seen that we went up and got DPJ. And, he probably felt a little bit threatened, because he was dropping balls. He wasn't catching them. He was looking like he was going to be a bust. And, I mean, I was almost kind of I didn't want to give up on the kid, but I'm like, oh, my God, I was almost wondering, what the heck, Brad, I'm not going to ever question Brad Holmes because I love him. But, I was like, what the hell did you move up to number 12 to get for a minute? And then, okay, now I'm starting to see what he can do. Now he's starting to get into it. Now, I wasn't never going to just call him a bust yet, but when he started dropping passes and shit, and then we went out and got Donovan Peoples-Jones, Coach was saying, I want to see what else can he do? And then, I want to get DPJ in there and then put Khalif Raymond to return kicks. He's got a lot of speed. Khalil Dorsey, he's all right, but Khalif Raymond knows what he's doing.
I understand. I get what you're saying. I truly do. What do you think, Chris? What are your thoughts on JMO and his performance today?
I think he did good. Yeah, I think he did real good. I think that if they would have used him a lot more, I think it would have been a different outcome. But yeah, definitely. I hope he keeps up the good work and get more targets.
All right, fair enough. here again, the way I look at it is a very simple one. As far as I'm concerned, the more we integrate JMO into this offense, kind of like when we started integrating Jahmyr Gibbs more into this offense, that opens up more opportunities. It opens up more play options. It opens up more it makes this offense more dangerous and more explosive. So for me, it's like, listen, why the hell not? Like, that's a serious question. Like, why the hell not? Get JMO on more of those crossing patterns. Use him more on slant patterns. Actually make him a full comprehensive wide receiver threat than just a deep burner. That's what I personally think. That's what I want to see. And I think that this game kind of showed that JMO could be that because we saw him used in multiple capacities. The fact that he's been great as a blocking ability as a wide receiver. Now that we're starting to see the receiving threat starting to come along, I think that he's doing really well, but that's just me. All right, here. I'm going to move into another topic here that is opposite of Aaron Glenn, but it's still on the coaching path here. So, Jay, you're up first. Here we go. Ben Johnson, who has normally been very creative and able to make the offense work smoothly, has been okay. Well, not okay. He's been really good the last year and a half. But however, the last 2 weeks, the offense has sputtered and has not really had a whole lot of consistency. So I have to ask the question, is there something wrong with Ben Johnson and his ability to continue to make this offense work, or are we just going through a little bit of a rough patch right now?
Dave, I was honestly kind of asking myself that because, like, we got a really good team. We got a really good offense, and I was kind of questioning myself on this. And it was something I was going to talk to you about if you didn't bring it up. Because you're usually really insightful and you got a lot of knowledge and history, and I don't want to ever jump to a conclusion because, like, I love Ben Johnson, what he did with the offense, what he's done with the team, the fact that he stayed and wanted to come back and whatnot. But I was wondering, like, is our offense too powered for him? Does he not know how to use all our weapons? Because, like, I feel like, we got a very powerful offense, but does he not know how to use every weapon? Because, like, okay, yeah, we're really good when we run the ball and do play action, okay, but we got more than just that. We got, the speedy Gibbs, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, you got the speedy JMO, you got DPJ, you got Khalif Raymond, you got Josh Reynolds, you got Sam Laporta, you got all these different players, and I was just kind of questioning myself on that. So I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's, he's getting kind of gassed, if he's running out of plays. I don't know, what's going on. I've never been the offensive coach. I've only ever been the quarterback who took the plays from the coach and put them on the field. But, like, I've never had any issue with it, but it's just more of like, I've never done the offensive coaching out of it. But, like, I know in Madden, like, you got the whole entire playbook. You can select different plays and stuff. And I don't know, like, if he's running out or if he's just losing that creativity. So I was just questioning it myself. Like, is our offense too superstar for his talents? I'm not sure.
That's an interesting point you make, and I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. But what do you think, Chris? Do you think there's something going on with Ben Johnson? Do you think there's something amiss or right? What are your thoughts on this whole topic?
I think that he's just trying to scheme up something new because the players that he has added, and he's trying to figure out what talents that they have. But at the same time, it's late in the season. I mean, like, that's the only viable thing that I can actually think of because yeah, he ain't playing like Ben Johnson. So, like I say, I think it's just he's trying to scheme in new talent.
All right, fair enough. Here's what I'm going to say. I don't think necessarily the problem is that Ben Johnson has too much talent and he doesn't know what to do with it. I don't think that's the problem. I think more anything, it has to do with the fact that, listen, I think for Ben Johnson, it's just kind of like, you get to how do I put this? Anybody who's been a writer or has had to write papers for school, at some point you get on a roll and you know what you're writing and you're doing very well with that paper, that concept, that thought process, and everything's going great for a while. But then inevitably, you're going to come to a point where you're going to run into a situation where you kind of run into what's known as writer's block. And eventually you're going to be like, damn, I don't know how I can possibly take this. Maybe I have to go in a different direction. Maybe I have to think about it a little bit differently. And I think that maybe what's going on potentially, and I use that word heavily, potentially, is that maybe what's happening is Ben Johnson might be in a similar kind of like a writer's block when it's coming to his offensive play calling and his scheming. Maybe he needs to think about how he can use that offense a little bit differently than how he has been using it. Because I think Ben Johnson still has the ability to be one of the best offensive minds in the league because we've seen him do it. Most of this year, he's done it. But I think he has to be willing to adjust a little bit and be like, okay, I've got these speed demons in Gibbs and Jamo. How do I use them a little bit more? I've got David Montgomery, a bruising back that can pick up 3 to 4 yards a carry if I give it off to him. Maybe when we're in a short down situation like 3rd and 2, instead of trying to throw the ball, we run the ball so that way we can then set up for the next play on 1st down to do whatever it is I'm trying to do right now. I think for him, it's just maybe making a slight adjustment and being like, okay, since I have these players, maybe I don't have to think about it as what I've been doing the last couple of weeks. That's one thing that I think. The other thing I think might be just for Ben Johnson, I think that part of it is that, again, people have said it before, and I'll say it again. The NFL is a copycat league. NFL is a copycat league. And Ben Johnson has now been the offensive coordinator for the Lions for a year and a half. There is plenty of film about how this Lions offense works and runs. And sometimes some teams are going to catch up to you and they're going to start figuring out, okay, this is how a team likes to run this. This is their tendencies. This is what they're really good at. This is what they're not really good at. So now they're starting to exploit some of the things that the Lions offense has been good at or has not been good at. And sometimes Ben Johnson's been able to find a way to work around that. And sometimes he's not been able to. So again, I think part of it is, maybe he has to add a little bit of a wrinkle, find a new way to use the players that he has. I don't think that he necessarily doesn't know how to use them. But I also think that maybe it's a little bit that we have to start making those adjustments, making those little tweaks because of the fact that teams are starting to pick up and starting to catch on to what we do well and what we don't do well. Because that to me is one of the biggest things that's gnawing the back of my brain, because it's like, listen, for as well as the Packers defensive line did against our offensive line, only one of two plausibilities is realistic. Either the Lions offense literally slept their way through the entire game, and particularly the offensive line, or number two, the freaking defense of the Packers were able to figure out something that the Lions offensive line had a weakness for as far as a protection scheme, a gap concept, whatever it was, and they just continued to exploit it throughout the entirety of the game with their aggressive physical play style. Because we have not seen the Lions offensive line play that bad in so long that it was kind of like, whoa, what the hell is going on here? That's what I personally think. Holy crap, we have got a lot of comments. There's like 50 comments going on in here. Holy thunder. Whoo-wee. Let's see here. Man, I don't even know where to start. Phil says the team is damaged and tired as the Bugs AG fight and Goff's contract breakdown affecting the team. I don't think that Goff's contract is affecting the team. Again, Goff is a consummate professional. The team is going to handle it with respect, and so will Goff. So I don't think that has anything to do with what's going on with the offense. But the Bugs AG fight, that's a rumor. That has not been confirmed by anybody, and I sincerely doubt it ever will be. But I do know this. Again, with rumors, they usually start with at least a little bit of truth somewhere. If there's any serious amount of truth to that rumor, that shows a fracturing in the locker room. And that's showing that there's problems that are starting to develop, which means one of two things has to happen. Either Dan Campbell has got to squash it, or it has to be resolved inside the locker room, because that's where it started. Let's see here. Galloping Lake 6 says Lions had over 400 yards on offense today. That's not a bad offense. Doug Michael Rusin says Jonah Jackson was out against both Chicago and Green Bay. No play action. That is a possibility. But for me, it's like, listen, if Jonah Jackson is the weak link in our freaking offense, and I'm not saying that he's the weakest player, I'm saying if he's out and that's a weak link for our offense, that's a problem. Because it means that there's a lot of weakness on the left-hand side of that formation where, Taylor Decker's the left tackle. Taylor Decker is supposed to be the best player on that offensive line because he's the blind spot guy for Jared Goff. And we already saw today that when Jared Goff gets hit from the behind and he's not seeing what's coming, what kind of a result that can give. Let's see. LB Tennis says Jackson is going to be out in the offseason. I don't know if Jonah Jackson's not coming back. I think the Lions are going to try to bring him back, to be honest. Perry Ball says if you overload the players, it's not a good thing. Sometimes less is more. I totally 100% agree with you, man. Let's see here. Lone Wolf 10 says, Lone Wolf 0, pardon me. We need either Brian Burns or Josh Allen, the defensive end, or Jared Verse or Chop Robinson, Dallas Turner. Hell, anyone to fix this pass rush. We should have been all over Jordan Love all day.
We need James Houston back. Shit.
Well, I understand the point that he's trying to make. The point is we need somebody opposite of Aiden Hutchinson to get this pass rush to be where it needs to be. Because, again, I've said this before, and I will say it again now, and I'll probably say it again in the future. You cannot win in the playoffs if you cannot affect the quarterback. And one thing that we have seen consistently throughout this entire season, we do not have the ability to consistently affect the quarterback. It comes in spurts. And unfortunately, that is not going to work in playoff time. We have to do it consistently. Pressures are fine, but what you want are sacks, and we are not getting sacks.
And we have one, but like Chris said, our fucking greatest defensive coordinator wants to turn everybody into a cornerback or linebacker or some, I don't know what the fuck it is that he wants to turn them into. He wants them to do pass coverage and fucking not rush. He wants them to cover the pass. Like, he had fucking James Houston doing shit James Houston shouldn't be doing.
Well, either way, the point of the matter is that I think that for Aaron Glenn, he's trying to make players do things that they're not comfortable with or do things that they're not ready to do yet. And this is something I've said before. He was trying to get James Houston to be a cover linebacker, but James Houston has never been a cover linebacker. He is a pass rush specialist. If you want to make him into a cover linebacker, you should have been doing that from day one in the offseason, not from the last couple of weeks of training camp. That's way too late to start doing that. You should have been doing it much earlier. So for me, that's a problem. And then if you think about it, that was one of the reasons why James Houston got injured in the first place. But anyway, LDV Tennis says, I doubt the decision to extend Goff will be predicated on this game. Holmes is smarter than that. Holmes is a lot smarter than that. Again, when people want to tell me that the Lions are not going to extend Jared Goff, I go like, wait a minute, back up here for a minute. Hold up. Jared Goff's not going to get extended by the Detroit Lions yet. Brad Holmes has said continually that when they traded for the Lions and everyone wanted to say that Goff was a bridge quarterback, Goff was just a mid-tier quarterback, Goff was this, Goff was that, Brad Holmes literally said that I never understood where that came from because his words were the exact same words I used. That was lazy reporting or lazy thought process. It was lazy because it's like, listen, Goff was a guy that took the Rams to the Super Bowl. Goff was a guy who has been to the Pro Bowl twice before he came to Detroit. Goff was a guy who's been on the top 100 list a couple of times before he got to Detroit. So to say that Goff was a bad quarterback and all of a sudden he comes to Detroit and he now is a bad quarterback, that to me is just that's a lazy take. That's just simply saying, oh, well, the Rams just didn't want him because he's a bad quarterback. No, let's dig a little deeper here. Let's use our common sense. Let's use our logic. That's why I've been saying what I've been saying on the show. If you actually dig a little deeper and you actually do a little bit of research, you'd actually be surprised how much information you can just glean from either the stats, the film, or just watching interviews and listening to what people have to say. It's not that hard. Okay. Lone Wolf says, add to my comment, where was Jack Campbell? He was there, but again, Jack Campbell, the thing is Jack Campbell can only do so much. Linebackers can only do so much. Linebackers are right in the middle of the field, and today, the middle of the field wasn't the problem. It was down the field that was the problem. LV Tennis asks, why do people come on here to be negative? If you care about the team, try to be constructive. The reason why people are negative LDV is because they're pissed. And the reason why they're pissed is because the Lions lost. And since the Lions lost, they're going to take out their anger and frustration on somebody, whether it's yours truly, whether it's Goff, whether it's Aaron Glenn, whether it's Dan. It doesn't matter who it is. They're looking for someone to blame. They're looking for their freaking patsy. They're looking for their scapegoat. That's the way it works in Detroit because Lions fans have no mother flipping patience. And I'm sorry. I know people are going to say, we've been waiting since 1991. We don't have a... Get over it. I'm going to be flat out honest. Get the fuck over it. I don't care how long you've been waiting. There are teams just as long that have been waiting. The point of the matter is patience is a virtue. And if you're patient and you wait, you will be rewarded eventually. That is a problem in this modern day generation that absolutely bugs me to no avail, is that people have no patience. It's an instant gratification society now, and it really gets under my skin.
With that comment, I don't try and be negative about Aaron Glenn on every single show. It's just hard when he makes it so easy.
Well, part of the problem is that, like you said, when Aaron Glenn does what he repeatedly does, yeah, it's easy to go after him. I would much prefer that I could just literally get on here and I wouldn't have to say one negative thing about Aaron Glenn. That's the honest God's truth. I wish I could get on here and say, you know what? We can all sing Kumbaya. Everybody's in a good place. We don't have to be mad about anything. We don't have to be critical of anything. That's what I would prefer. But the problem is that that's simply not reality. It's never going to be reality. Let's see here. Theo says, we're the most patient fans in the NFL. If you are, then why do you keep complaining? Patience is not only about how long you wait, it's about the process and how you are while you're waiting. I can say I'm patient all day long, but if I'm constantly, crying, whining, and complaining about it while I do it, am I really being patient? No, because let me ask you this question. If you're a parent out there and you tell your kid to be patient and okay, they're going to sit and wait, but they're crying and whining about it, are they really being patient? No, they're just waiting and making a whole bunch of fuss about it. That's not being patient. Lions fans are the type of, are the kid that will sit in timeout and wait, but they're not going to be quiet about it. That to me is not being patient. That to me is just whining and crying and saying, I'm just going to continue to wait. If you're going to be patient, you need to be patient quietly and allow people to do their jobs. Because again, let me ask you this question. Yeah, we haven't had a playoff victory since 1991. Okay, I get that. But did anyone seriously think that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell were going to make this quick of a turnaround within 3 years? I will sit and wait because I guarantee you ain't nobody going to be able to say that. I guarantee you as soon as we hired Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, everybody thought this was going to be another 5-6 year process because that was how long Sheila hired them to, was 5 and 6 years. But yet in half of the time expected, here we are, we're 8-3. We're at top of the division. We're still one of the best teams in the NFC. But yet I'm hearing people complaining, people crying because we lost one game against the Packers. I'm sorry. Teams are going to lose games that they shouldn't lose. We shouldn't have lost against the Packers, but we did. Them's the facts of life. J. James says, what happened to St. Brown? Nothing happened to St. Brown. He almost had 100 yards receiving today. It was just a quiet 100 yards.
I can tell you what happened to St. Brown. The fact that the Packers watched our film. They knew who we were going to try and target. They know who our number one wide receiver is. And they did what they needed to do. And then, they had to find other ways to get him the ball.
I understand. Phil, I'm not saying that you guys are coaches. I understand you have opinions. I have an opinion too. Again, I go based off of what my dad has said. Everyone has opinions. And you know what the saying is about opinions? They're like armpits. Everyone has one and they all stink. The point of the matter is that my opinion is a very simple one. I understand we've been waiting a long time, but I got another one for you. How long did the Israelites wait in the desert before they were delivered to the promised land, if you believe the Bible? They waited 40 years in the desert. Okay, there's that one. How long did the Israelites wait in Egypt before they were delivered by God? That was a long time too. So again, patience is a virtue. Hence the reason why I say what I say.
Okay, I'm going to jump in.
Go ahead.
About to say, How long did it take me to get to the NFL? Never. I
Well,
still
again,
got it though.
either way, the whole point of the matter is that for me, I understand where Lions fans are coming from. But again, one of the things that I have always done with my show is speak the truth. I never said the truth
Absolutely.
was going to be pretty. And I never said the truth was not going to be abrasive. That's the thing about society I also don't like, is that when I tell the truth to people, some people get their panties in a twist and they don't want to hear it. Well, I'm sorry. The truth's not always pretty. And the truth is not always freaking sunshine and rainbows. If you want that, you can tune into any other show that you so choose to. But with me, you're going to get the 100% unadulterated, unfiltered truth, whether you like it or not.
Shit, Steve-O just said it best in one of his comments that the Philly lost to the Jets on Sunday. So, like any given Sunday, shit happens.
Yep.
Well, again, the point of the matter is that for me, it's like whatever. You can say whatever you want. You're entitled to that opinion, just like I'm entitled to my opinion. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I do not require people to tune into my shows. If you tune into my show, you're going to get what I give. You may not like it. That's totally fine. But I'm not forcing my opinions down your throat. I'm not forcing you to watch my show, and I'm certainly not forcing you to stay with my show. You're here of your own free accord. Okay, Tony Wright, fine. You want to play this game? Let's play this game. You want to say when you guys tell the truth about Goff, I get mad. Okay, let's be truthful about Goff here. Jared Goff, let's think about it. What do you guys complain about the most about him? The turnovers. Over the last two games, yeah, there have been a lot of turnovers. But prior to that, where's the turnover problem been? Seriously, where's it been? He just literally set a near record for the most pass attempts without a turnover, without an interception. He has 383. That's the third longest in NFL history. So Jared Goff can go almost an entire year without throwing a pass for an interception. But if he has two bad games, you guys instantly jump all over him and say he's a terrible quarterback. Tell me how that one makes any sense. But you guys keep telling me that Jared Goff is a terrible quarterback, but yet Jared Goff, as I've proven multiple times, is top 10 ever since he's came in the league in passing yards, passing touchdowns, wins, 300-yard passing games, 400-yard passing games, 500-yard passing games, three passing touchdown games, 4 passing touchdown games, 5 passing touchdown games, 100 passer rating games, 158.3 passer rating games. So please, I would love to hear your evidence. I would love to hear your reason. I would love to hear your logic about how Jared Goff is not a good quarterback. I seriously would love to hear it. Because I am so tired of people that want to dog Goff because he has a bad game or two, or because of whatever dumbass reason the world can come up with. And then when I put them on the spot, oh, well, you just don't want to hear this. Prove it to me then. Give me your proof. Give me your evidence. I'd love to hear it. Have you ever been to a Super Bowl? No. How many quarterbacks in the NFL right now that are active have been to a Super Bowl? Less than a third. How many quarterbacks in the NFL right now have been to 3 Pro Bowls? I guarantee you not that many. How many quarterbacks have been on the top 100 list 4 times in their NFL career, and they've only been in the NFL for freaking 8 years? Not that many. How many quarterbacks are tied third fastest 25,000 yards with 2 Hall of Famers called Kurt Warner and Peyton Manning? Not that many. So again, please, I would love to hear your reasoning. I would love to hear your logic. I would love to hear how you think you know more than Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. Please. Open thy mouth and spew thy wisdom.
It's not even just those comments, Dave. It's also the ones when they keep talking about replacing Goff with Hooker or other stupid shit, or Malik Willis, or well, that was last year. Now it's this year. It's Hooker.
Anyway. Again, I've heard this argument too as well. We'll see what Goff turns into when Ben Johnson leaves. Okay, fair enough. But let me ask you this question. I also know that people used to say that Jared Goff was not going to win without Sean McVay. But yet Jared Goff right now, if I recall correctly, is either at 500 or just slightly below 500 being here in Detroit. Yet currently last year he had a winning season. This year he's having a winning season. So Jared Goff can't win without Sean McVay. So can Jared Goff win without Ben Johnson? I'm sure he can. I'm sure he will. Again, the argument's invalid because I've already heard this argument before. Tony, I didn't say that Goff was flawless. I asked you to prove to me how Jared Goff is not a good quarterback. Those were my exact words. I said prove to me how he's not a good quarterback. I did not say Goff was a flawless quarterback. There is no such thing. Not even Tom Brady is a flawless quarterback. Tom Brady's been to the Super Bowl 10 times and lost 3 of them. Peyton Manning's been to the Super Bowl 4 times and lost 2 of them. There is no such thing as a flawless quarterback. Try again. Keep putting words in my mouth. You're still not going to win. Braylon Dennis, no, you don't have to time him out. Again, this is why I do what I do. I will defend my positions until someone can prove me wrong. That's why I always say what I say. Prove me wrong. Give me the evidence. Give me the proof. Find some way to prove what I'm saying is incorrect. Because I'm saying the exact same things that Brad Holmes has said, that Dan Campbell has said. I am quoting stats you can find anywhere on the internet. They've all been verified by the NFL, by Pro Football Reference, by ESPN. They're all verified. They're all 100% authentic. I stick to the truth to my dying breath. I stick to the facts. I stick to the stats. If you don't like that, I can't help you because that's the truth. I stick to the truth. That is my freaking guiding line. That is my ruler. Like it or not. Tony, again, you're just being ridiculous. Even in this, I'm going to just ask you, Jay, Chris, just answer this to me. Did I or did I not say that Goff had bad moments in this game? Did I or did I not say that Goff was responsible for that one fumble that he had? Did I or did I not say on my last show when I did a live that Goff had a bad game? Have I or have I not been critical of Goff when he deserves criticism?
Yep.
It's not like I just freaking white stroke everything that he does and say, oh, I don't see anything wrong here. Again, you can't have it both ways. You can't be freaking just absolutely delusional about that Goff is terrible, but that when I defend myself, say, oh, I'm just saying Goff is great and he never deserves any criticism. I give Goff criticism when he deserves criticism. Those are the facts.
You gave it to him last week with the interceptions. You did it this week with the fumble. I mean, a couple of them honestly shouldn't have been called. And then I know what you're talking about, the 4th down one. Fumbled it. We were going to turn it over anyways. Like, turnover on downs, turnover with the fumble.
It doesn't matter. The point of the matter is this. I have been fighting this fight ever since I started my O show with Detroit Lions Forum with DLF. Whenever Goff has a bad game, and yeah, he had a bad game with the fumbles, just like last week. He had a bad game with the interceptions. Anytime Goff has a bad game, this always happens. The Goff haters, the SOL fans, they come out in droves because they know who I am. They know the fact I'm a Goff defender, and they don't like it that when I say that Goff did this or did not do that, and I actually back it up with sound logic and reason, that, oh, well, you know what? I should just say that Goff is great and just shut up. No, that's not at all what I said. I said, prove it to me that he's not good. Prove it to me that you can actually give me a sound, logical, reasonable, intelligent argument. That has always been my motto. I'm willing to debate with anybody if it's sound, logical, reason, and it has a good debate up to it. But if you're just going to throw out the same dime dance old things that I've heard off of Woodward Sports, 97.1 The Ticket, and just be a professional tape recorder, then I have no respect for that. I like to use my brain. I like to use my intellect. I like using sound, logical reason. I don't understand why that is such an insult to people to say, please, give me something to work with here.
I want to see all these people that bad talk you and talk shit about Goff eat their crow. Win. I'm not saying like it's not gonna happen this year, but when Jared Goff brings the Lombardi Trophy to Detroit, every last one of these motherfuckers needs to do like they need to apologize.
I don't know when it's going to happen. I suspect it's probably another year or two away. I know it ain't happening this year. We'll probably win a playoff game. That's most likely.
Yep.
But I don't suspect we're going to get past the divisional round. We might win the wild card. That's about it. But anyway, let's move on to the next topic here. We've been on this for way too fucking long, and I'm starting to lose my patience. Anyway.
I'm here for you, bro. I'm here for you.
Let's move into the next topic here. So, with the Lions' loss, they've now fallen to 8-3. And so, it's the first time the Lions have lost to the Packers in 5 games, because prior to this, we've won 4 times in a row. So, let's take a look at let's take a look at the reality of the situation. The Lions still hold the number 1 spot in the division, but how concerning is a loss like this at this point in the season to you? So what do you think, Jay? How concerning do you think a loss like this to the Packers is right now?
I mean, I'm concerned with it just because like we got a lot of mobile quarterbacks coming up. Like the coach was saying and Chris was saying, a lot of people are starting to watch these films where Aaron Glenn isn't making these adjustments. He's not changing nothing. And I'm not trying to be that guy who always wants to put it on him and whatnot. But if AG and Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes don't do something, it's never gonna change. Like, I was never thinking that Detroit was gonna be as far as they were. I was never drinking the Kool-Aid juice with the Super Bowl win. I thought playoffs for sure, but like I was really thinking Kings of the North. We was gonna win the North this year. I already knew that. Like, that was my expectations. I wasn't trying to put them too high on a pedestal because we had a lot of young people. We still got to see what we got out of. But if they can't figure something out, we're gonna be. We can't rely on our offense to try and win every single game.
All right, fair enough. I understand it. And I'm not just saying that because I usually say it. I still can't hear what these things off. I just had to scratch my head. Chris, what about you, man? What do you think? How concerned are you right now after this loss against the Packers at this point in the season? What are your thoughts?
Well, like I was saying earlier in the show, I think if know what I'm saying, we could get a grip on stopping mobile quarterbacks.
I'm sorry, Chris. I'm sorry. I have to put this up. Phil asked me a question. He said, David, you have hair? Yes. Okay, I'm just going to do this for a short period of time. Yes, I have hair. I know you all don't normally see me without a hat on, but yes, I do have hair.
Yeah, I said that earlier. I made that joke earlier.
I have hair. I have light blonde to brown hair. I normally don't have a hat on because of the simple fact is, I'll be honest, when I'm normally recording, I haven't brushed my hair, and plus on top of that, it's one more thing that I can put on that has the Lions logo. So for me, that's the only reason why I always wear a hat. It's not because of the fact that I just don't want my hair being shown. I actually like my hair. I wish I didn't have a receding hairline, but I like my hair. I just like to wear a hat to me. And no, it's not a wig. He then says, looks like a wig to me. I can fully testify. This is not a wig. I can fully testify that it's not a wig, but I will say this too, because Braylon Dennis just said this. I imagine that you would be a bald, David, respectfully. I have no problem being bald because I can tell you this right now. When you go to basic training for the military, they shave your head completely bald. you're barely going to have any hair on. So after having 2.5 months of no hair, I don't care if I'm bald in the end. I know this for a fact that if my hair starts to come off and I have that old grandpa effect back here, I'm just going to fucking shave it all the way off. For me, it's like, if you're going bald and you're just going to keep your hair back here, what the hell's the point? Just freaking shave it off. I mean, there's plenty of guys out there that have no hair and have cue ball heads that have been very successful. Freaking Jarrett Stidham, Bruce Willis, The Rock. I mean, come on now. There's nothing wrong with a guy being bald. That's just my opinion, but I apologize, Chris. I had to say that because that comment just made me laugh. I was like, how do people not know that I have hair?
Coming from.
But anyway, go ahead, Chris. Finish what you were saying. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Oh, no, you good. No, what I was saying was, I mean, it's a bit concerning to me because we still haven't been able to stop mobile quarterbacks. And right now, we have primarily one that can actually take both of those games because we can't stop mobile quarterbacks. Plus, we got holes in our defense that need to be filled, not by individual players itself, is the zones. And by me playing cornerback, I know how tough that could be because once your man come past you, you have to let him go to the safety, and the safety has to pick him up within a certain amount of yards. If you don't, that's a hole in your defense. And once you have holes in your defense, a quarterback can exploit you. So if we can't get that together, then our season is going to be close. We, like I said earlier, we might catch a high wild card, but it's going to be close with Minnesota as far as the North.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. Is it concerning that we lost against the Packers? I'm honestly going to play a little bit both sides here. Because here's what I'm going to say. Is it concerning? Yes, in one way it is concerning because of the fact that if the Packers are able to come into Ford Field and they're able to beat us, that tells me one thing right off the bat. What it tells me is that the competition in the North is a lot more stiffer than what we thought it was. Because up until today, I thought the only serious competition we might have to contend with was the Vikings. But it actually looks like the Packers might be something to deal with this year, which for me, that is a bit of a concern. Now, here's what I am going to say. This is why it's not a concern for me. The way I don't think that this is a concern is because, again, I am of the belief that sometimes what you need is a good ass whooping to get your mind refocused, to get your eye back on the prize, to get yourself back into a mode to where you start playing at your top level peak again. So for me, I look at it this way. The Lions now have 10 days until they're set to play their next game, which is at the Saints, which is in New Orleans. That game, for me, is going to be a very, very interesting game. That, to me, is going to be a game that is going to show one way or the other whether or not this Lions team is still resilient, because I believe the Lions are a resilient team. But the best way you can show you're resilient is that, okay, you lost a game. You lost a game everyone thought you were going to win. You lost it on national television. Now you've got to go out the very next week, and you've got to find a way to win. Now, here's the thing about it. The New Orleans Saints game is going to be a very, very interesting game for a number of reasons. But we'll get to that here in a moment. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm not worried, or I'm going to say this. There are things that I'm concerned about, and there are things that I'm not concerned about. What I'm not concerned about is I believe that Dan Campbell is smart enough to recognize, okay, we just lost this game. I've now got to use this as motivation. I've now got to find a way to get my guys back on the schedule of being fully into the whole process of going out there, playing their best fall, and just doing what we need to do. So for me, I think that part I'm not concerned about. But what I am concerned about simply is this. If that's what the Packers can do, I'm kind of curious to see what they're going to do over the next couple of weeks, because at 5-6 right now, they're right there on the verge of in the wild card conversation as far as one of those last bottom seed teams that can get in. So for me, it's like, okay, here, Could the Packers overtake the Vikings? In theory, yeah, they could as that number 7 seed. Whether or not they do, I don't know. There's still a lot of football left to actually have that happen, but we'll see what happens. So again, there are things that I am concerned about. There are things that I'm not concerned about. I have a lot of trust in Dan Campbell. I have a lot of trust in the majority of the coaches on the squad. I have a lot of trust in the players to be consummate professionals and realize, okay, we did not play our best football today, but we've been in this spot before. We know what it's like to get our minds refocused and absolutely go out and play a good game. So for me, I think that this is actually a good thing because, again, somebody said it in the comments before, but I'll apply it here in kind of a different prerogative. Less is more. Well, sometimes you have to destroy in order to build. Think about it. Whenever a forest fire happens, yeah, it burns down the entire forest. But then what it does is it allows the forest to grow back because the fire acts as a way for the forest to rebuild, to regrow. I'm going to use the same thought process with football. Sometimes you have to have your ass handed to you in order to think, okay, now we got to refocus ourselves. Now we got to get back to what we know works for us. That's my thought process. Might be a little bit of a roundabout way to get it, but that's what I think. But, all right. This is going to be the last topic for tonight. Going to be talking about next week. So here we go. Jay, you're up. Lions now get an extended mini bye week to prepare for the Saints. This game will feature a lot of emotion because Campbell and Aaron Glenn used to both coach for the Saints, and Jamal Williams, our former running back, is currently playing for them. So I'm going to ask this. How crucial is it for the team to go out and get this win? What do you think?
I mean, at this point, I think it's very crucial to go out and get the win because we barely eked by with the Chargers. We barely eked by with Chicago. We just got our asses whooped from Green Bay. They need to go out. They need to show that we're not the SOL. We're not all this shit that people are gonna try and tag us with. We need to go out. We need to whoop the fucking Saints. Even though I hate Aaron Glenn, and hopefully we can make it a good enough defensive game to where it still puts him out there as a head coach option for somebody. And I'm not a good letter writer. Otherwise, I'd be writing letters to like MSU to go get AG from the Detroit Lions to go coach college. Because I just want him out. I want him gone. But anyways, that's a different thing. But just, they need to go out there and they need to whoop their ass. They need to get the confidence back. They need to get back to the old self and, figure out what to do.
All right. Fair enough. What do you think, Chris? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's going to be an emotional game, but I'm going to say this. Once they get to New Orleans and duke it out and whatever the case may be, and it's a high percentage that we may come away with that. But I'm going to say this. Once we play New Orleans, give Aaron Glenn back and do not bring him back up here. Let him stay with the Saints.
Leave him in New Orleans.
Right. Leave him in New Orleans.
Y'all can have him back.
Yep, y'all can have him back. That way you can say that Dan Campbell has put him back in a place where he's respected and he deserves to be down there. It's a win-win situation.
Fair enough. Here's what I'm going to say. I think that this game is crucial to the Lions for a number of reasons. One, it's a conference opponent. The Saints are in the NFC conference, so that's important. Number two, this is the game where the Lions definitely need to bounce back. They definitely need to show, okay, we had a loss, but that's not who we are. We can bounce back, we can come back, and we can actually play a good game, and we can start moving forward again. We can start building momentum. So that's also important. Number two, the next game that we play is going to be in December. December and January is when you need to start playing your best football. So if the Lions can go out and get a win to start December, that also is going to go a long way for them. But also number four, as you alluded to a little bit there, Chris, this game's going to be very emotional. It's going to be emotional because that's where Dan Campbell last was as a coach. He was the assistant head coach under Sean Payton. That's the last place Aaron Glenn was. He was a defensive backs coach for them. That's where Jamal Williams is. Jamal Williams is still pretty much liked in the Detroit area, and he's still got a lot of friends on the Detroit team. So I guarantee you that's going to be a bit of an emotional ride up and down, roller coaster ride. That was the term I was looking for. But for me, what's crucial about this is very simply put this. If the Lions are able to win their next game and go to 9-3, that again keeps them in front, in theory, 2 games in front of the freaking Minnesota Vikings. Because let's just say, hypothetically, the Vikings win their next game and they go to 7-5. Well, then at that point, they're only 1 game behind us at 8-3. So we have to win another game to maintain that 2-game difference between the two. So again, there's a lot riding on this game in order to win. It's going to help us in the playoff race. It's going to help us get right for December and January. It's going to make sure that we can show that we can bounce back from ugly losses like we've done before, because we bounced back when we lost against the Seahawks, and we bounced back when we lost against the Ravens. So for me, it's like, listen, you have to have games like the Packers, as much as it's distasteful, as much as it's completely insufferable to me that I don't like losing to the Packers. Sometimes you have to have that bad taste in your mouth. You have to have that bitter experience to be able to refocus yourself and get ready for the next thing you got coming forward. Because again, sometimes you have to have a challenge so that way you can break through that plateau that you're at. Sometimes you have to endure hardship. Sometimes you have to endure something that is not pleasant so that way you can make that next step forward, so you can make that forward progress. So for me, as much as, again, I don't like the fact that we lost, I truly think and believe that it's going to help us as we move forward. We're going to see if I'm right here in about 10 days, but that's my thought process. We're going to take a look at some of these comments here really quickly. Braylon Dennis says he thinks it's very crucial. ATG 3 Rock S72 says Detroit Lions got exposed at home versus Bears and now Green Bay. I was in the Lions chat earlier. They was blaming Jack Harlow for the loss. I don't know who Jack Harlow is, but okay.
He's the guy who did that rap during the
Oh, okay. That's why I didn't know, because I didn't pay attention to the halftime show. I just tuned that shit out. Tofka Day says New Orleans is a tough place to play, but after what happened today, I think we smoked them, plus the extra rest should help. LW Tennis says Goff has had less than 3 seconds on some 3-step drops. He had pressure on the top of the drop. Braylon says he's headed to New Orleans. It's very crucial. Make the trip worth it. Steve O says Jack Harlow sucks. It's hard to call that music. Thomas Donner says if our D doesn't change, we will get smoked in our first playoff game at home. We will be 11-5. Again, I'm not going to have that thought process, but we'll see what happens. ATG 3 Rock S72 says the shit today kids listen to. Hey, I'm going to say this right now. I can't stand modern music. I spend more time listening to the early 2000s, 90s, 80s, 70s. I listen to all of that stuff. There's very, very little music from the modern era that I can even tolerate. Let's see here. Silence says Lions fans just need to accept that the O-line is overrated. ATG3 says 3 interceptions versus the Bears, now 3 fumbles versus Graham. You can say Goff isn't him, but again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Even the best quarterback have bad games. Peyton Manning threw 6 interceptions in one game. Drew Brees and Big Ben threw 5 interceptions in one game. Are we really going to get all butthurt and our panties in a twist because Jared Goff threw 3 interceptions and had 3 fumbles in one game? In 2 games, Jared Goff has tied the amount of turnovers that Peyton Manning had in one. LDV Tennis says, Lions fan think the O-line is number 1 and that Goff has the perfect situation, which that's not true at all. Silence says, fact is Goff's supporting cast is maybe above. I don't know if I'd go that low. I know that there are some players that could be better, but we got a pretty good supporting cast. Let's see. Let's see here. LV Tennis says, Lions fans think St. Brown, Reynolds, Jamo are as good as Hill and Waddle. I mean, I think St. Brown and Jamo are pretty good. I think Reynolds is above average. Doug Michael Rusin says versus Chargers was one of the few times the O-line was mostly together. 41 points on the road, unstoppable if it wasn't for Aaron Glenn's defense. Galloping League 6 says it was a horrible halftime show. Nick Burton says, do I think that Goff is a Hall of Famer? Right now, no, I don't. I absolutely don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I think if you wanted to say anything about Jared Goff, he's in the Hall of Very Good. He is not a Hall of Famer. He's in the Hall of Very Good. In order for Jared Goff to get into the Hall of Fame, he would have to win at least one Super Bowl. The fact that he's been to a Super Bowl puts him in a class of most quarterbacks have never been to. So that's why I say Hall of Very Good, because Jared Goff, regardless of what anyone wants to say, has accomplished a lot in his very short career. But is he a Hall of Famer? No, absolutely not. I know that for a fact. And as much of a Goff fan as I am, I know the reality of the situation to say that he's not a Hall of Famer. I know that he could be a Hall of Famer if he wins a Super Bowl, but that's a very big if. Jacob says, there's 3 ways of winning in football. If you win 2, you win the game offense, defense, and special teams. Lions lost all 3 today. That is very true. Anthony Berardi says, hey, please leave us with something encouraging. I sincerely feel awful about this loss. Big M says, it's apparent that Goff's lack of mobility is glaring. Okay, let me ask you this question, Big M. How many Super Bowls have been won by non-mobile quarterbacks? And let's just think of all the quarterbacks over the last couple of years that have been non-mobile that have won. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Matthew Stafford, Eli Manning. That's quite a lot of non-mobile quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls. How many mobile quarterbacks have won Super Bowls? Oh, that's right, just 2. Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes. Other than that, I can't think of another mobile quarterback that's really won. Let's see here. Lions Mania says, hey, David, how's it going? That's something nice to say. He then says, tough loss, my guy. We just can't seem to find a win on Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is one of those days where it's kind of like, hey, if we could get a win, it'd be awesome. But again, we haven't won since 2016. So now we're going on 7 years running without winning on Thanksgiving. And what makes it worse is it's our own damn tradition. That's what sucks the worst about it. It's our own damn tradition. We can't win. Tafka Day says, nobody really thinks Goff is a Hall of Famer, but he does have an outside shot, in my opinion, depending on what he does over the rest of his career. Exactly what I think. If Goff wins a Super Bowl, he's got a pretty decent shot at getting in. But that's about it. Goff has the stats. Goff has shown that he can play good. But what he needs is to have the hardware. He needs to have a ring. Steve O'Baby says, Dave, I wish you were the defense court. Oh, boy. I'm going to tell you this all right now. I'm not a defensive-minded guy. I just know the defense. I know how the defense works. I know how to play defense because I used to play defense. But I am not qualified to be a defensive coordinator. I just recognize things from up in the booth and from my own television. But I guarantee you this, I am not qualified to call a game plan on a sideline. I do absolutely enjoy the confidence. I'd be much better as an offensive play caller because offense is my specialty. I can call and draw up offensive plays all damn day long. Tafka Day says, was Jalen Hurts on the Philly winning Super Bowl team? Yes, he was. He was on that team. That's why I said Jalen Hurts and freaking, what was I going to say? Was Jalen Hurts on that one? No, he wasn't. Pardon me. Jalen Hurts has not won a Super Bowl. He has been to one. That's a good point, Tafka Day. Jalen Hurts has been to a Super Bowl. He has not won a Super Bowl because that Super Bowl that the Eagles won was won by a non-mobile quarterback named Nick Foles. Thank you for correcting me. I'm absolutely sorry. I had that wrong. So the only mobile quarterback over the last however many years that's won is Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL right now. So go figure. Okay, it might be a mobile league now. I get that. The quarterbacks are becoming more mobile, but to say that Jared Goff can't move is just ridiculous. Jared Goff has the ability to move. If you take a look at Jared Goff's 40 time, he's actually not that slow. He's actually got about the same speed as Dak Prescott. Go check that out. I encourage you because I've checked that out. Jared Goff's 40 time is not that far off from Dak Prescott's, and everybody considers Dak Prescott a mobile quarterback. Now, the better quote you could probably use is Jared Goff is not an agile quarterback. Jared Goff is not very good at lateral movement. He can move very well forward and back, but he's not an agile quarterback. But mobile, he can move. He's not a statue.
Also, Dave, for this guy's comment, he needs to go and research some stuff because the Ravens are actually keeping Lamar Jackson, trying to keep him in the pocket more and run less. So
and there's a reason for that. This goes back to, and I know exactly where you're going with this, Jay. That's why I'm kind of interjecting here a little bit. The reason why they're trying to keep Lamar in the pocket is because mobile quarterbacks, scrambling quarterbacks, they don't last long in the NFL. Case in point, what's Cam Newton doing these days? What's freaking RG3 doing these days?
Teddy Bridgewater.
Tim Tebow. They're not really doing much of anything. 3 of those quarterbacks I just mentioned, they're completely out of the league. They're either broadcasting or they're free agents. The only one that is got a job is Teddy Bridgewater, and he's holding a clipboard, which he's been doing for pretty much the last 5-6 years. The point of the matter is that mobile quarterbacks, yes, they're good to have because they can extend plays. They can pick up yards outside the pocket. The difference is knowing when to be mobile versus when not to be mobile, being smart with your scrambles. And unfortunately, most mobile quarterbacks, they are not very smart, which is why they get injured. That's why they stop playing very quickly in their careers. That's why the quarterback that stays in the pocket extends their career. So for me, it's like, listen, I understand people want to keep getting on the fact that Jared Goff is not a quote-unquote scrambling running quarterback. But to be fair, most teams are not looking for a quarterback that's going to run for 100 yards every damn day. They're looking for a guy that can pick up yards on the ground if needed. But they want that guy to stay in the pocket. Why? Think about it this way, folks. What position in NFL gets more money than any other team or any other position? It's the quarterback, right? So let me ask you this question. If you have a quarterback that you pay $45, $50, $55 million and he starts running around and getting hit by 250, 300-pound linebackers and linemen, how long do you think he's realistically going to last? He's not going to last very long. That's why they want to keep quarterbacks in the pocket that are mobile because they're wanting to protect their investment because it's a lot of money to have a guy be sitting on the bench if he's getting hurt. It's very simple.
That's also why running backs don't last more than 5 years.
Well, running backs don't last more than 5 years because it's just a very physically demanding position because when you're holding the ball, you're getting hit a lot.
But they're the person who holds the ball more than the quarterback.
I'm just simply saying, this is why the mobile quarterback theory, okay, I understand the value of it, but you have to understand the only way the mobile quarterback works is if they stay in the pocket and they learn how to progress as pocket passers. That's why quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes are so damn good because he knows, okay, this is when the time it is to run and this is when the time when it is to throw. And that's why he is a much better mobile quarterback than anybody else because he has developed that passing talent that a lot of others have not. Jalen Hurts is kind of getting there, but he still hasn't quite gotten there yet. He's just about there. There are a couple of other guys that have kind of started figuring that out. But again, that's the problem with mobile quarterbacks that come out of college. They rely too much on their legs to get themselves out of trouble. And then when they get to the NFL, they go right back to the same well that's worked for them in college. And that's when they start getting broke. And then, oh my God, this quarterback that came out of college that had all this talent who looked like he was going to be the next big thing. What's he doing now? Oh, he's bagging groceries. He's going to car washes. He might be an analyst on television. So that's the double-edged sword of mobile quarterbacks. Yeah, they're exciting. They're fun to watch. They can extend plays and pick up yards with their legs. But unless they're smart with how they run and if they develop themselves as a pocket passer, they will not. I say again, they will not last in this NFL. Defensive players are getting faster. They're getting stronger, which means they're going to inflict more bodily damage on players. And quarterbacks, I'm sorry. The more damage you take, the less likely you're going to be able to extend your career. Them are the facts.
You got a couple of comments in there. You're just going to be fighting for days.
Yeah, well, I don't care. I really don't care. The point of the matter is that I don't care anymore. You can argue all you want about Goff, but the point of the matter is the history is on my side, the facts are on my side, the organization's on my side, the record's on my side. Don't like it? Don't care. I'm sorry, but you know what? This modern society that we live in where it's like, well, if you don't agree with me, that hurts my feelings. You don't agree with me, you're my enemy. Cry me a river and get a paddle and start paddling upstream because I don't give a care anymore. I'm here to tell you the truth. You don't like it? Tough toodles.
Oh, my God. I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing at fucking Lions Mania talking about C.J. Stroud is going to be a future. He's a rookie playing decently right now.
Well, C.J. Stroud's playing pretty good right now. I'll give C.J. Stroud that. But the thing with C.J. Stroud is that most quarterbacks in their rookie years, they look really good. I want to see how C.J. Stroud looks his second year in the league. Quarterbacks that come out of college, they usually do pretty good because there's no game film on them. There's no tape. But after a whole offseason from their first year, teams now are able to pick up on what their tendencies are. I want to see what C.J. Stroud does in his second year before I start saying anything about him. But I do admit he is playing remarkably well as a rookie.
If they look at his stats, though, he's got more passing yards than rushing yards. I think he's the passing yard leader right now, or he was, I think, from what I've seen.
Easy Lion Minutes says, is this Canadian aggression? No, this is not Canadian aggression. This is me saying, I don't give a thunder about what people have to say. I'm sorry, but people literally want to get their knickers in a twist because, oh, I say this or I say that or whatever. It's like, dude, be whatever you want to be. I'm tired of coddling people. I'm tired of trying to be nice. It's like, listen, either you're going to listen to the truth, receive it, and respect it, or you're not. I cannot make you, again, as the saying goes, I can lead a horse to water, but I'm not going to be able to make it to drink it. You have to make the choice. You can either take what I'm saying as the truth, or you can keep arguing with me. Point of the matter is the truth's not going to change. The truth does not give a damn about your opinions, your faith, your mindset, how you were raised, what you do for a living. The truth remains the same regardless. Goff makes the O-line look bad. I'm sorry. Did you or did you not see that Goff was pressured over 50% of his times today? What's Goff supposed to do? Block for himself?
Yep, he's supposed to block for himself, throw the ball, and catch the ball, and get the touchdowns.
I mean, I'm sorry here. What's Goff supposed to do? Be the whole offense? Like, I mean, for crying out loud. I don't know what else Goff is supposed to do. Like, Goff cannot be the lone savior. This is the same problem that Lions fans had with Matthew Stafford. They expected him to be the lone savior that would somehow pull out the miracle in the end, and when he didn't, they got pissed off at him. What's he supposed to do?
That's just a ridiculous comment. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's a fun comment too. Lions Mania pointed that out. Our old buddy Tim Boyle gets the start tomorrow for the Jets. I mean, that's going to be a shit show. I'm sorry. That is going to be a shit show.
Wow.
And okay, the Lion had one bad game. Really? Did it? I mean, how many times has Goff been pressured this year? How many times has Goff been sacked? It's not like he's the least sacked quarterback in the NFL. It's not like he's the least pressured quarterback in the NFL. I mean, we have a good offensive line, don't get me wrong, but it's not that good. And the reason why it's not that good right now is because we have to keep shuffling it like musical chairs. Every single week, it seems like somebody's getting shuffled in, shuffled out because of injury, because of performance, whatever the case might be.
Also, with that, like, okay, one bad game. This one bad game actually cost us the game. All the other times, the offense bailed the defense out of the games.
Well, the only one I would say that that's not the case would be the Chicago Bears game, because the defense did step up because, again, 4 turnovers, and we had the ball for 20 minutes almost, which means the defense was out on the field for 40 minutes. So that game, the defense bailed out the offense. But that is 1 win out of 8. Because I'm sorry, like I said earlier in the show, and I'll just say it again right now, without Goff, we don't win the Buccaneers game, because Goff was the only thing we had on offense to score points. We couldn't run the ball. We couldn't do anything except Goff. Without Goff, we don't win the Chargers game. Without Goff, we also don't win the Bears game, because Goff was very critical for us being able to drive down the field for David Montgomery to get that final scoring touchdown. Again, I said it before, I'll say it again now. Without Goff, we are looking at being a 4-7 or 5-6 team right now. That is that very simple. People don't, again, this is one of those situations like a child with a toy. They beat the toy up, they throw it around, and they don't treat it with any respect. But then once they lose it, they start crying like, oh, well, where's my toy? Where's this? Where's that? I miss it. It's going to be the same thing with Goff. I guarantee you. When Goff leaves and we have to go to a new quarterback that doesn't understand the system or has to be built into the system, it's going to be painful. And people are going to be like, man, why did we get rid of Goff?
Looking at our 2 backups, actually, without Goff, I wouldn't see our record being any better than what it is now. Like, I would see us being in the basement right now without Goff. Like, Teddy Bridgewater, okay, he's a okay backup quarterback, but I wouldn't want him to be our starter.
Charisse Armstead, I'm so glad you said that. Did you know that Peyton Manning threw 6 interceptions in one game? 6 interceptions in one game. Jared Goff has just had 6 turnovers over the last 2 games. Peyton Manning, Hall of Fame quarterback, 2-time Super Bowl winner, 6 interceptions in one game. Drew Brees, Hall of Fame quarterback, 5 interceptions in one game. Big Ben, Hall of Fame quarterback, 5 interceptions in one game. So please tell me, again, I would love to hear this. Again, this is one of those conversations where you can try to come at me any angle you want. I will still smack you down quicker than a fly with a fly swatter. You will not win this debate.
Peyton Manning still holds the rookie interceptions for the most interceptions as a rookie.
Yes, I know he does. Again, people want to get all freaking in a twist and want to get all peeved off because Jared Goff has had 6 turnovers in the last 2 games. Okay, so what? There are some quarterbacks, like I just mentioned, that had that many turnovers in one game.
Jameis Winston has more turnovers than touchdowns in one game. And I think in his career, actually.
Why shouldn't Peyton Manning be mentioned with Jared Goff? Was or was not Jared Goff a is or is not Jared Goff a quarterback? Was or was not Peyton Manning a quarterback? Did they not play in roughly the same era of football? That's a fair comparison. I'm not saying that Jared Goff is on Peyton Manning's level. I'm saying that since they play the same position and the same type of turnovers are relevant to that position, that makes sense. It is a fair comparative analysis. I'm not debating their talent. I'm debating the results.
Also, they're both pocket passer quarterbacks.
That's also true. But again, learn what I'm talking about here. If you're going to have a debate with me, if you're going to try to argue with me, understand what I'm arguing, understand the point. Otherwise, all you're doing is making yourself look like a fool. I'm not arguing the qualitative ability of Goff versus Peyton Manning. I am arguing how they performed in a game. That is a completely different set of standards. That is a completely different set of analytics.
Yeah, all you're doing is putting out the stats. You never once said that Jared Goff was better than Peyton Manning or all them other quarterbacks that you mentioned. You said was that they threw, you put out the stats. Peyton Manning threw 6 interceptions in one game. That's 6 turnovers in one game.
Here's the other way I look at it, to put it very simply. Very simply. Oh boy, dude, you just keep opening yourself. Jared Goff is fragile and timid. Okay, here, hold on. Jared Goff has been in the NFL now for 8 years. He has missed 7 games in 8 years. He's only missed 3 with the Detroit Lions. So fragile, he definitely is not. He's also tough as hell. I seem to recall in the last year that he was with the freaking Rams, he had a broken thumb that he had surgery on. The very next week after having surgery on said thumb, he goes out and beats the Seattle Seahawks in their home stadium, back when they were still known as the Legion of Boom. So timid, fragile, try again. Very much try again. You can't win this argument. Saying I'm right doesn't make me right. No, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying the results make me right. Again, prove to me what I'm saying is wrong. That's simple. I'm not saying that what I'm saying makes me right. I'm saying that what I'm quoting, the facts, the stats, the results, that's what makes me right. Unless you can prove that wrong, tell me how I'm wrong. And I didn't say that Goff is great and doesn't have any issues. Goff clearly has issues. I know Goff has issues. I've studied his film enough to know what his issues are. But I also know that Goff works as hard as any other quarterback to overcome those issues. I've literally talked with people that work with the man. So please, do not tell me that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I have spent more man hours studying this crap than most people probably should unless they were coaches. And I certainly as hell am not a coach. I am just a very passionate fan.
Yeah, I don't think Hendon Hooker is going to get traded in the 2024 draft. We just picked him up.
Well, here's the thing with Hendon Hooker. I said this when we drafted him. Hendon Hooker has potential, but the problem is that he's 25 years old. And here's the biggest reason why I have a problem with his age. If you take a look at every quarterback that has been drafted at 25 years of age or older, they have not done a damn thing in the NFL. Not one. The last quarterback that was drafted that was 25 years or older was Brandon Weeden. Does anybody know how Brandon Weeden performed? He was ass. Now, I'm not saying that Hooker is going to wind up to be Brandon Weeden. But for me, it's like I find that very, very odd that you would draft a 25-year-old quarterback that's also coming off of a major injury, an ACL tear, which means he's not even going to be ready to start really doing anything of a physical nature until the very next year, because that's what it's looking like the Lions are going to do. He might get a couple of weeks of practice at the end of this year, kind of like what Jameson Williams had last year. But realistically, he's not really going to be able to do any sort of like physical work or understanding or doing anything with the offense until he's 26 years old, folks. That's a bit of a problem for me. And I know it's a bit of a problem for most teams. It's like, listen, you want to get your quarterbacks young so you can start building them up so where they get to their prime years, which is 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, they're ready to rock and roll. By the time Hooker hits that age point, he's just going to be barely developing.
Plus, with the ACL tear, they're going to want to, that would want the Detroit Lions to keep him in the pocket more and not trying to run the ball. Like, otherwise, he's going to re-tear his ACL.
Probably. We have a question here from Jad Reslin. He says, Dave, do you think that we're going to focus on defensive end and cornerback in the draft and next free agency? I absolutely think we are. I think we have to.
DB number one, yeah.
I said it earlier. I said it earlier in this show that Brad Holmes absolutely 100% has got to draft either an edge rusher or a defensive back, primarily a cornerback. He has got to draft one or the other. Otherwise, that's going to cause some major red flags. Unless it's a player that you absolutely cannot miss on, which there's no such thing as a can't miss prospect. There's just simply no such thing. I think you have to draft an edge rusher or a cornerback. Unless you're able to find a surefire bet product that has been established in the NFL and free agency, you have to draft one. You just have to. Tony, I am not telling them that they have to put you in timeout. But again, you still have not listened to what I've said. This is basic communication 101. What is the basic understanding of communicating? You listen, not hear, listen to what I say, and then you reciprocate. What am I saying? You have a right to have an opinion. I am asking you to present an intelligent counter argument to me. You have
Respectfully.
not done that. You have been belligerent. You have been rude, and you have continued to say, oh, well, Goff is this, Goff is that, but yet you're not listening to what I'm asking of you. You're not listening to my request. My request is simple. Prove to me that Jared Goff is not a good quarterback. Prove it to me with stats. Prove it to me with the logic. Prove it to me with what Dan Campbell or Brad Holmes has said. Prove it to me. If you cannot do that, then simply don't comment about it. That is what I am saying. You're entitled to have an opinion, but if you're going to present an opinion and debate or argue with me about it, at the very least, be willing to back it up. That's another thing about this common generation that I have an issue with is people have no problem voicing their opinions, but when they're questioned about it and they're put on the spot, they've got nothing to say all of a sudden. They've got no way to back it up. So it's like, if you're going to say something, have the ability to back it up and give something to refute with. Otherwise, all you're doing is just being, again, a professional tape recorder. Easy says, Tony, it's pretty abrasive. I actually agree with him, but the smugness is wild. The reason why I seem smug, I will admit that is a bit of a problem of mine. But the reason why I appear smug is because I have had this debate more times than I care to have. Again, I've been podcasting now for going on over 3 years. 3 years I've been doing this. And every time I've had this conversation with somebody, it's either been, I've had it with some of the biggest names in football, in the Lions community. I had a situation where I said this very same thing to Herman Moore on freaking Lions Nation Unite. He said he wanted to have me on the show to debate with him. Never once got an invitation. Never once was asked to come on the show. Now, that might have been because I forgot, or it might have been because of somebody else that works with that show. Not going to say who it is, but most people pretty much have figured out that by now. But again, when I have presented the stats, when I have presented everything, nobody is able to refute me. Tony, I've literally said, present your evidence. Present your evidence. Where is your evidence? How many more times do I have to say that? Present your evidence. There's a reason why the people that you're talking about have not muted you, because they're waiting for me to give the go ahead. I'm not wanting them to mute you. I want you to refute what I'm saying. Present your evidence. Present your debate. Don't just give me short little whatever nots. Present your evidence. Where's your stats? Where is your proof? It's that simple. I'm not asking for the world here. I'm asking for you to present me with evidence. Prove your argument or not. Either admit you're wrong or prove that I am wrong with evidence. It's very simple. Hell, our freaking common justice system is presented on that basis. You're innocent until proven guilty. Okay, it is then the prosecution's job to provide evidence so that it is beyond a reasonable doubt that the person is guilty. I'm telling you to do the same thing. Present evidence that beyond a reasonable doubt, I am wrong. You are not doing that. And I am asking a very simple question. It's that simple. So where's your evidence? Where is your proof? Oh boy. John, again, like I've been saying to everybody, I defend Goff because I'm backed with the truth and the facts. If I didn't have them, I wouldn't have an argument to stand on. Easy Lions Minute says, Goff's weakness today, 2 hands on the ball, making a throw with pressure, making a read for a quick pass. I would agree with 2 out of the 3 of that. I wouldn't say that making a throw under pressure is a weakness, because Goff actually statistically has been proven to be one of the best quarterbacks when he's getting blitzed. But yes, having 2 hands on the ball, that is a weakness. He fumbled because he had his arm all out here and the ball got knocked out. That's definitely a weakness. That's definitely a fault of Jared Goff. Also, Jared Goff was sitting back there and he wasn't making quick reads. That was also a problem for him because he was flustered. He was feeling the pressure. His timing was off. His internal clock wasn't working correctly. So again, I agree. If you've got a reasonable beef, if you've got reasonable evidence, I'm willing to listen to it. But if all you're going to do is just make statements with superlatives and you don't have any evidence, that's why I question. Where's your evidence? Where's your proof?
All right, yeah, I'm coming. All right, Dave, I gotta go. I got a late dinner.
That's fine. I can handle it from here. I mean, at this point, I'm just answering comments anyway.
Yeah, I was about to say I'd love to sit here and keep, helping you out with these people, because this dude is just getting ridiculous. Talking about, if you disagree, that they'll put you in timeout. It's only when they're disrespectful and want to call you names and stuff is when they get kicked and timeout.
Yep. Go enjoy your Thanksgiving dinner, man. Thank you for tuning in.
Yep.
All right. Have a happy Thanksgiving. But John Ellison, you asked, do I think he had a good game? That depends on your quality. That depends on your qualification. Do I think Jared Goff had a good game as a passer? Yes, I do. Take a look at his stats. He had 65% completion rate. He threw over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 100-plus passer rating game. Do I think he had a good game overall? No, I don't. When you have 3 fumbles, you're not having a good game. But again, keeping everything in context, that is the important thing to do when you have a debate. You have a conversation. If you start pulling things out of context, it makes no sense. Then you can start making any old dumb argument you want. Tony, have you been put in timeout by me? Have I not been able to respond to every freaking comment that you have? Nobody's put you in timeout. Nobody has taken you out of the ability to make comments. Now you're just being extra about everything. Now you're just being ridiculous. Easy Lion Minute says, but most of it's on Ben Johnson not changing his scheme. Jalen was the only one who unlocked the offense today. I would agree for the most part that is also true. Again, Ben Johnson did not really change anything about how he ran the offense. It wasn't really until JMO started really getting in there that, hey, we were able to do something. Because I'm going to just point this out here. Remember that last touchdown Jared Goff threw? It was tight between 2 defenders. And Jared Goff was getting pressured while he threw it, but still it was accurate. Everybody wants to talk about when Jared Goff does bad, but when Jared Goff does good, nobody mentions that. Melinda says, love your channel and your Lions content. Tough loss, but sucks. But no doubt the Lions will bounce back. I agree. Again, it's a tough loss. It sucks. But you know what? I think that this will help the Lions in the long run. Perry Ball says, at Lone Wolf, I can believe AG is losing the locker room. I can't say with any certainty whether or not he is or is not. I'm not in that locker room. I can't speak with any authority. All I have are rumors, and rumors at best are sprinkled with a little bit of truth. Steve O'Baby says, is it a winning record, 16-4, as far as Jared Goff? Is it a winning record, 16-4, as far as Jared Goff? If I recall correctly, Jared Goff's record with the Detroit Lions right now as a starter is 20-21-1. So I don't know where you're getting the 16-4 from, Steve O'Baby. John Ellison says they figured out our offense. Not mad at you. Don't take it personally. We're all feeling disappointed. I told you all last week he missed open people constantly throughout the game. He might have missed open people last week, but he wasn't missing open people today. Jared Goff was actually throwing the ball into some very tight windows. The problem was Jared Goff was just getting pressured all throughout the day. Again, the commentators pointed it out. Jared Goff was getting pressured on nearly half of his dropbacks. That, to me, is just like unacceptable as an offensive line coach. You have to keep the quarterback in a clean pocket. You have to keep those defenders out of his face. If you're not able to do that, you're going to have a problem. Lions Mania says, David, you might disagree with me, but we should have kept Swift and drafted Jalen Carter at the deadline. We should have traded for Chase Young. Now, here's what I am going to say. I do disagree with you about Swift and Jalen Carter. And the only reason I disagree with you about Jalen Carter at this point primarily is because if we had taken Jalen Carter, we could not have gotten the guys that we got with that trade with the Cardinals. We would not have gotten Sam Laporta. We would not have gotten Brian Branch. That trade set all that stuff up. And I'm sorry, as far as I'm concerned, Brian Branch and Sam Laporta as a combined entity are going to provide more for our team than freaking Jalen Carter right now. Now, I will say this. I do think that freaking Brad Holmes should have at least put an offer out to go after Chase Young. That much I do agree with you on. Because I'm sorry, Bruce Irvin, while I think he was a nice pickup, I think he's just a rental. I don't think the Lions are going to keep him long term. He's 36 years old. The Lions are not going to keep a guy that old on their roster long term. He's just filling in for right now. LDV Tennis says, missed open people constantly at a high passer rating. The primary component of a passer rating is completion percentage. Some of you aren't very bright. I'm not going to say anything on that. Peter Javatak says, John Ellison, I'm not sure how you can tell since half the action is cut off because of technical reasons. Okay. Tafka Day says that TD catch by Laporta was tough catch in traffic to be sure. That one was tough, but I was also referring about the one to Josh Reynolds at the very end as well. LAV Tennis says, Dave, can you still see their comment even if they're hidden or removed from the chat stream? No, I can't. Once they're removed from the chat stream, either they're hidden or banned. I can't see the comments anymore. Easy Line Minute says, the only way we improve from Goff is if Hooker is Patrick Mahomes, and with injury, that shouldn't start till next year. Honestly, here's the thing about what you're saying, Easy Lions. There's no way that's going to happen, and I'm going to tell you why it's not going to happen, and it's for the same reason that happens every year in the draft. Because every time the draft comes on, what do those analysts that are doing the draft say? Oh, they're looking for the next Lamar Jackson. They're looking for the next Patrick Mahomes. They're looking for the next this or that. Stop looking. You're not going to find them. It's not going to happen. There will never be another Peyton Manning. There will never be another Tom Brady. It's just not going to happen. You need to look for your quarterback. You need to look for your guy. So for me, it's like if Hendon Hooker is going to be the guy, he has to develop into his own person. He can't be the next Patrick Mahomes because he's never going to be the next Patrick Mahomes because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. You can't make a clone copy of somebody in another quarterback. That's just not going to happen. So for me, in order for Hendon Hooker to do anything, if he's going to take over, which I don't think is going to happen because of his age and his injury history and because of the fact that the Lions are trying to extend Goff, he's got to develop into his own person. Lions Mania says, good point, David. I didn't think about that. I don't know what point I made, but I'm glad you agree. Lone Wolf says, offensive line did a poor job. Even against the Bears, they did not look good. This loss was due, and it sucks that it was on Thanksgiving. Lions must rebound against the Saints. And I totally expect that they will. Again, when you lose, when you go through adversity, when you go through a challenge, that is going to do one of two things. You are either going to rise to the challenge or you are going to fall. You're going to fail. You can either take the challenge on the chin and get better from it, or you can complain about it. There's only one of two options. And this is a team that is very resilient. Dan Campbell does not have quitters on this team. So for me, I fully expect that the Lions will rise to the challenge and they will come out and they should play decent football against the Saints. John Ellison says he threw the ball into the dirt going to Gibbs in the fourth quarter when they were trying to bring the score to 1 on third down. He threw at least 4 passes, completely different routes. Okay. I'm trying to understand your point, John, because Jared Goff was also under a lot of pressure throughout the day, so he wasn't always able to step into his throws. But to be fair, when Goff was able to step into his throws and actually get behind him, the balls were there with plenty of zip and accuracy. Lions Mania asked, does Dan Campbell have the balls to get rid of his buddy boy, Aaron Glenn? I don't think it has anything to do with whether or not he has the toughness or he has the bravery to do it. I just don't think he wants to get rid of his friend because he values the friendship too much. That's my personal opinion. I don't think it has anything to do with whether or not Dan Campbell is tough or brave. I just think he doesn't want to give his friend the can. Perry Ball says the new report said he did put an offer on Young. He just didn't want to pay a second-round price. And that's totally fine. For me, it's like, listen, a third-round draft pick was as high as I've been willing to go for Chase Young, and for one simple reason. Chase Young has talent, don't get me wrong. The problem is his injury history. He has been injured quite a lot. So it's like, listen, you're taking a risk if you trade for him. Plus, on top of that, if I recall correctly, Chase Young is either in the last year of his rookie contract or has one more year after this one. So it's like, listen, you're trading for a player that has an injury history, and you're trading for a player that either needs a new contract immediately or is about to need a new contract. So you're not only accruing a trade cap penalty, but you're also accruing a potential salary cap penalty because he's going to want and need a new contract. So again, that was probably the reason why freaking Brad Holmes was not willing to go with the second-round draft pick, because it's like, listen, due to his injury history and the fact he's going to want to get paid, I don't think it's worth it. So I can't fault Brad Holmes for that. I didn't know he put in an offer, but if he did and he simply just wasn't willing to go, I can't fault the man for that. You have to go with based off of what is decently valued price for the player you're potentially trying to acquire. Easy says, not Mahomes exactly, but same trajectory. Takes over for a good QB. That could potentially happen. But the problem is that, again, the difference is staggering in terms of their age. When Patrick Mahomes was drafted by the Chiefs, he was, 21, 22 years old, and he only had to wait 1 year. That's not the case with freaking Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker is 4 years older than what Patrick Mahomes was, and Patrick Mahomes came out of college with a clean bill of health. Hendon Hooker has not. Furthermore, the Lions are trying to re-sign Jared Goff. The Chiefs were not trying to re-sign Alex Smith. Tafka Day says, Goff is going to have a big contract extension signed by the time Hooker is ready to play, so it seems pretty unlikely Hooker is going to take over anytime soon. And that's exactly what I have said. Again, because of Hendon Hooker's age, because of his injury, because the fact the Lions are trying to make a concerted effort to sign Goff, it makes no sense that he would take over. Again, one of two options is going to happen with Hendon Hooker. Either he is going to be the primary backup behind Goff, or they're going to use him as trade collateral at some point. Because, again, you have to think about Brad Holmes' thought process with the draft. He's either going to draft a player to become an eventual member of the team, or he has got some other plan for them. But there's always a reason why Brad Holmes goes out and gets players. For me, I think he's wanting freaking Hendon Hooker to be the long-term backup, so that way they've ended the backup question of who's going to be the quarterback long-term. Because, again, having a good starting quarterback, that's all well and good. But having a good quality backup quarterback, that can be a problem that a lot of teams don't know how to address. Lions Mania says, the point that we wouldn't have gotten Branch and Sam Laporta. Okay, fair enough. I was trying to figure out what point I made. Outer Drive says this game was winnable. Absolutely, it was winnable. This game was definitely winnable. Virtually almost every game that's been on our schedule has been winnable. The only two games that going into this, the only 3 games going into this year that I said the Lions probably couldn't win was the Chiefs game, which we won, the Ravens game, which we lost, and the Cowboys game, which we've not played yet. Tafka Day says the QB and the receivers weren't on the same page today. That's not Goff being inaccurate. This is true. Again, this is a West Coast style offense. The West Coast style offense is a very simple offense in concept, but it's very difficult to execute. Why? Because it's a timing-based offense. John Ellison says, in my opinion, what went wrong with our offense? Nobody would get rid of a DC when you lead your division, maybe in the offseason, but our OC is struggling too. I have said this. I have said that right now, Ben Johnson is struggling as the offensive coordinator. He's not doing something that gets this offense in a full-on tilt mode to where it is effectively working. Because I've equated the offense like an engine. It's sputtering right now. It's like somebody has got the choke on this thing and it's not letting it fully run. But let's understand something here. What went wrong with this offense today all starts up front. You cannot, under any circumstances, have a quarterback be pressured on 50% of his dropbacks and expect that that quarterback is going to have a good day at the office. The quarterback has to be kept clean. No quarterback will tell you that they like having pressure in their face. No quarterback will tell you that they like running for their lives because they can't get time in the pocket. Every quarterback will tell you that when you have a clean pocket and you give them at least 3 to 4 seconds to throw and survey the field, they will have a decent day at the office, or they at least should being the operative word. Outer Drive says that play calling was awful. Lions take too long to get rid of the ball, and it was horrible time management by the coach. That is a good point. It was also some bad play designs and play calling as well, especially the fourth down punt that went for a fake. That was horrible. Silent says calling Alex Smith a good QB is pushing it. Well, let's be fair here, Silent. Alex Smith early in his career with the 49ers was not a good QB. But when John Harbaugh got there, he then turned into a good QB, maintained that good QB status while he was with the Chiefs. And then after he got injured when he was with the, I believe it was either at the with the Redskins, though now they're called the Commanders. They were the Washington football team for a time too. When that happened, then he was pretty much done. So for the majority of his career, you could say that Alex Smith was an above average QB. But there was a time when Alex Smith was a pretty darn good QB. It just wasn't very long. It was maybe about a period of about 6 to 7 years. Outer Drive says the Lions need a no-huddle offense and quick play-action passes, play with some desperation. I do agree to a certain degree, because when the Lions went up-tempo, when they started playing with no offense, the offense did a lot better. The reason why is because you're keeping that same defense out there, which doesn't allow it to switch in man, or it doesn't allow it to switch in man personnel to go to a different scheme. It's pretty much running the same personnel it had out there. That stresses a defense. Ghost of Judah Tribe says calling Goff a good QB is really pushing it. No, it's not. Jared Goff is top 10 in virtually every single statistic for a quarterback since he was drafted. Goff has been to a Super Bowl, which most quarterbacks in the NFL right now have not been to Super Bowls. Goff has been to 3 Pro Bowls. Goff has been on the top 100 at least 3 or 4 times. So calling Goff a good QB is a very accurate statement. It's not pushing it. Steve O'Baby says, Dave, do you think that the whole team is responsible? Everyone is held accountable, just not one player in my mind. I'll say this again. I said this earlier in the podcast like 2.5 hours ago. It's a team effort. You win as a team, you lose as a team. It does not matter. Everyone is responsible, win, lose, or draw. You cannot say that, oh, this one player was the reason that we won. Because like, okay, that one player may have gotten all the attention for the game-winning player or whatever. But did that guy do everything by himself? Did he block for himself? Did the pass get thrown to him? Or did he throw the pass to himself? Did he get a block down the field or what? No, it's a team effort. Again, there is no I in team. And I'm not saying that with any sort of like vigor or any sort of like venom. I'm just saying it with high emphasis because, again, I believe that you win as a team, you lose as a team. There is no one individual player that gets the finger for, oh, they're the reason we won or lost. It's a team effort. John Ellison says, good show. I'm done for now. I enjoy the debate. We disagree. Hooker being drafted to be a backup is 100% your desire or opinion. Take care. I really hope they don't sign Goff, though. Hey, that's your opinion, and I'm fine with that. I've said this before. People are entitled to have their opinion, so long as they're respectable. That's a respectful comment, in my opinion. We're not going to agree. That's fine. I'm not looking for everybody to agree with me because I know how the world works. Not everybody is going to agree with you. Again, to kind of use this in a different way, I go back to President Abraham Lincoln. You can fool some of the people some of the time. You can fool all the people some of the time. But what you cannot do is fool everybody all of the time. And to kind of turn that into a different little phrase, think about it this way. I can make some of the people happy some of the time. I can make everybody happy some of the time, but I cannot make everybody happy all of the time. There are going to be people that are going to disagree with me, and that's fine. If you disagree, whatever. We shall agree to disagree. But at the end of the day, do so respectfully is all I ask. We live in a time now where people will get very hot, flustered, and bothered under the collar if you don't agree with them. That's politics. I'm not here to be political. I'm here to give you facts. Politics is all based on opinion about what is better based upon some sort of political ideology. There's no facts or figures in that. This is all based upon, hey, here are stats, here's the truth, this is what I see. Politics, there's no such thing as that because there's way too many moving mechanisms in the background to understand that political jargon. Peter Jabatak says, good night, bro. Good night, my friend. Randy Fuller says, it's so frustrating watching the Cowboys and 49ers do what the damn Lions should have done today. I agree. Charles Kodovich says, St. Brown, one catch pulled off the field. Cowboys laughed my ass off. They're getting the easiest game weeks in a row. Ghost of Judah Tribe says, Brock Purdy is better than Goff. No, he's not. No, he's not. Brock Purdy has only been a starting quarterback right now for pretty much the totality of one season when you combine what he did last year and this year. You cannot say Brock Purdy is a better quarterback based off of one season of total production. That is just crazy. Perry Ball says, Dave, what do you think of that late hit on Goff? Should have been flagged. It should have been a flag. He was if not for the fact that it was a late hit, the fact that he grabbed him in the back by the horse collar should have been a flag. Again, the refs missed some pretty blatant calls. And Tafka Day, you are correct. Jim Harbaugh, not John. John's with the Ravens. LW Tennis says Goff has to tighten up his game, get over the mental fatigue. He has to control the turnovers. He's been taking more chances to level up the offense. That is true. Goff does have to tighten it up. He does have to find a way to limit the turnovers. That much I do agree with. But for me, it also has to do with the fact that the offense as a whole has got to play better. Not more better. That's a really bad way to say it. It has to play better. It has to play more efficiently, more effectively. So again, Goff does have to tighten up. Goff does have to play better and not have as many turnovers. But for me, I think that's not also with the fact that Goff is trying to take more chances just because he's trying to take more chances. I think that has to do with the fact that the offense is not playing as effective or efficiently as it should be. So he's feeling like he has to force things to try and make plays. All right. With that having been said, I've been going at this now for 3.5 hours, and it is 9:30 here on the East Coast, so I'm just going to say this right now. I appreciate everybody that came out and watched the show for Thanksgiving. You guys are an amazing crowd. You guys are amazing with your comments. May not always agree, but you're still an amazing crowd, and I'm absolutely thankful, Thanksgiving, for each and every one of y'all. So, again, I absolutely just want to say, you know what? It was a bad loss. Nobody likes it. I especially don't like it. It's crap. It's a bad day. But you know what? Still be thankful for what you have. I know somebody earlier in the comments said, Dave, try and do something to put a positive spin on this so that way we're not feeling so down. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to tell everybody really quickly before I sign off what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful for the fact that I have a house to live in. I'm thankful for the fact that I have a job that gives me money every 2 weeks so that way I can live. I'm thankful for the fact that I get to live in one of the best countries on this planet in terms of rights. I'm thankful for the fact that I have a loving wife and I have 2 amazing kids. I'm thankful for my entire family, my moms, my dad, my grandparents. I'm thankful for all of them. I'm thankful for how my wife supports me despite all the sacrifices she's had to make, whether it's with the move in the military and all the other things she's had to deal with. I'm thankful for the fact that, you know what? I have the ability to wake up every day and know the fact that, hey, I've got another day to live on this planet. I'm all about trying to be positive. Yes, today sucked about losing a football game, but you know what? Football is not the end-all, be-all with life. There is a lot more to life than football. There's a lot more things to enjoy about life. There's family, there's friends, there's personal experiences that you will never be able to have if you don't enjoy life. So it's like, listen, as a Lions fan, yeah, it sucks we lost today. But you know what? I am not going to let that freaking blur or drown out my outlook on life. So for me, I'm going to say I'm thankful for this day. I'm thankful for my loved ones. I'm thankful for all the wonderful things that God has blessed me. And I absolutely thank Jesus Christ above for everything that I have. So with that having been said, I just want to say thank you all for tuning in to another show of Motor City Mania. I'll have something cooked up and ready for you guys tomorrow. And with that having been said, I just want to say God bless. Enjoy your Thanksgiving with your family and friends. Keep the faith. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.